I shit my pants during job interview last week. It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly what happened. Just before the interview, I felt an urgent need to use the bathroom but hoped I could hold it for the 10 minutes before the interview. I was mistaken. I had a severe stomach issue and ended up having a bowel movement right before the interview. I cleaned myself up quickly and joined the call, but I was still dealing with the aftermath. During the interview with the COO, I could hear my stomach making loud noises, and I was sweating from the discomfort. I hoped it would end quickly, but the COO kept asking questions. Eventually, I couldn't hold it any longer and soiled myself during the interview. Despite the unfortunate situation, the COO said I was a great fit for the position and offered me a job with a 3 times higher salary than my previous one, along with excellent benefits. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at that point. I ended the call, had to replace my chair, and will likely share this story with my grandchildren in the future. It was a terrible experience but ended with an incredible outcome. A stranger helped me when my car broke down, and I'll never forget him. A few years ago, I was driving across the country for a new job. I had everything I owned packed into my old car clothes, a laptop, some kitchen stuff, and a few sentimental things. I was excited but nervous. This was a fresh start for me, and I had no safety net if things went wrong. About halfway through the trip, in the middle of nowhere, my car started making a horrible noise and then just died. I pulled over to the shoulder and tried to start it again. Nothing. My phone had barely any signal, and the nearest town was miles away. I sat there for a while, trying not to panic, when an old pickup truck pulled over behind me. A guy in his late 50s got out, wearing a baseball cap and grease-stained jeans. He walked up and asked what was wrong. I told him my car had just died, and I had no clue what to do. Without hesitation, he popped the hood, asked me to try starting it again, and within minutes, he figured out the problem. He said he could fix it, but I'd need a part from the nearest town. Before I could even think about how to get there, he offered to drive me. We got to the auto shop, grabbed the part, and on the way back, he told me about his own life. He had been a truck driver for years, had kids my age, and just liked helping people when he could. Back at my car, he got to work, and within an hour, my car was running again. I tried to pay him, at least for gas, but he shook his head. Just help someone else down the road, he said. That was it. He waved, got back in his truck, and drove off. I never even got his last name, but I'll never forget him. That stranger turned what could have been a disaster into just a small bump in the road. Wherever you are, sir, thank you. You didn't just fix my car, you reminded me that kindness still exists. A cop wanted to fuck us on the side of the road. One day I went to the mall with my friend, and we made eye contact with this cop as we were leaving the parking lot. And as we were driving, we noticed the same cop driving next to us and kept staring at me. We waved at each other and both went our separate ways, where we were stopped at the left turning lane and he was going straight. He kept yelling from his car for us to pull up in the lane beside him, but we ignored and drove off. 5 minutes later we see the same guy who followed us and was telling us to pull over. He's a cop, so we had to listen to him, but this dumb bitch decided to drive into a random abandoned road with no other human presence. He then started talking to us casually, like how old are you and what do you have planned for today? It then escalated to you'll get in a lot of trouble if you're with me, and started talking about how he's a sexual person. Keep in mind we were both 19 and this is a grown man twice our size, also nobody else was around. We were scared, so obviously we entertained it a bit for 2 reasons. 1. He doesn't get mad and hurt us. 2. For the plot. We told him we're a lesbian couple and looking for a third. This guy got so happy and kept insisting for us to fuck him on the side of the road. But yeah, we gave him fake names, fake numbers, and told him that we have to pick up our friend but would be down for another time. That was so stupid of us, but at least we got a nice story time to tell our other friends. My friend also recorded a video of this interaction if anyone wants to see. Sneering face emoji. Update: here is the video. A girl I know in college refused to lose weight for a record label deal. I've looked her up twice in the past 25 years and I think she may have regretted her decision. A girl I attended a few classes with in college was also a musician. I never heard her stuff at the time, this was before general social media, but one day she mentioned her agent got her an audition for a record label, so I imagine she was pretty good. She said they loved her, but just one thing, she needed to lose weight. She was by no means fat, but by no means as skinny as a supermodel. She said the label told her they were looking for a Britney Spears competitor, someone a few years older like her, but she needed to be super skinny. She was like, fuck that, I'm going to make it on my own talent, they'll see. We graduated, I never saw her again, and she didn't even pop up in my head until maybe 6 or 7 years later. Not sure what triggered it, but I got curious to see if she ever did make it as a musician. This was about 18 years ago, and I found a web page for her music. She was an indie artist playing gigs around her home city, and oh boy, she was super skinny. Like unhealthy skinny. Her face just didn't look normal. I felt bad for her. I didn't know her whole life story, but in college she was the attractive type who never went out of her way to try and sex herself up. Not the case here. She looked like she was trying way too hard. And just tonight, she popped up in my head again. I was actually watching a video on YouTube that talked about how record labels manufacture stars, and I thought of her again. So I found her social media this time. It looks like she's still an indie musician, at least as of 2 years ago. And she looked to be a much healthier weight, although she had some obvious breast implants. Not judging that part at all. And I finally heard one of her songs. It was recorded about a decade ago, but she's a damn good musician. I can see why she got the audition all those years ago. She'll probably never get that record deal, but it hasn't stopped her from being a musician. So good on her. A lady apologized for stealing from me 17 years later. In high school I had an 18-year-old boyfriend with an apartment, which I thought was so cool. Of course it was a hangout spot for a lot of people our age. We're from a small town. I forgot my purse there for a couple days. I was an irresponsible teenager. A couple days later I went to withdraw money from the ATM with my debit card and the $400 I had in my account was gone. I was working my first job and this was like 2006, so $400 meant I was full on rich. Well, it being a small town, we went to the one gas station in town with an ATM and figured out who it was. Two girls I was semi-friends with. We had friends in common and nothing against each other, but didn't go out of our way to hang out. Word on the street was they both got grounded. Well, 17 years later, and I get a message from one of the girls that stole the money, apologizing and saying how she talked with her therapist a lot about it, and she was really sorry. I responded with that clip of Billy Madison calling Steve Buscemi to apologize, and Steve Buscemi crosses him off his people to kill list. A quick story about my dating policy for my daughter. When my daughter was 5 years old, and just starting kindergarten, I would occasionally tell my daughter, just remember, no dating and no boyfriends until you turn 30 years old. Wishful thinking, I know. I told her this her first day of kindergarten, and she replied, "Okay daddy." Then I would tell her the same thing every once in a while. Not too often to be annoying, but often enough that she knew my rule. Then one day, later in the school year, it may even have been when she was in first grade, as I was getting ready to drop her off at school, once again I said to her, "Remember now, no dating and no boyfriends until you turn 30 years old." This time she had a totally different reply. She turned to me, and looked right at me with those eyes that she could use to get whatever she wanted from her dad, and said, "Well, if I get good grades all through school and college, can I start dating when I am 29? It took all the willpower I had to not smile and start laughing when she asked that. With a very serious look on my face, I showed her that I was taking a moment to consider what she had just asked. Then I replied to her, well okay, you've got a deal. If you get good grades all through school and college, I will let you start dating at 29. She replied, "Okay daddy," got out of the car, and bounced her way on into school for the day. For those who are going to ask, yes, she waited till she was 29 to start dating, because she always followed daddy's rules. Just kidding. She had her first boyfriend at around 13 years old, breaking her daddy's heart. X200B. Almost fall for a married guy. I work with this guy not directly as his assistant. He is a fine, good-looking man, but his personality is total trash. Consider him a douchebag and a complete a-hole. He was demanding and intimidating during my first 6 months, but eventually, I got used to it. After working together for more than 2 years, we started teasing each other constantly and became really close. Over time, I saw a different side of him and realized how incredibly intelligent and eloquent he is. Whenever we bump into each other, he either hugs me or holds my hand. It feels so normal for us. Since I rarely see him in the office, most of our communication is over the phone for work-related matters. I'm fully aware that he is married and has a tittle son. One time, I saw him in his office. When he noticed me, he waved his hand, signaling for me to come inside. As soon as I did, he held my hand. I told him I needed to head out for lunch, and he let go, saying, "I'm going to give you a call later." A few hours later, he called and asked me a question that completely shook me. He asked if I had feelings for him. I laughed and told him no. My rational mind said no. He simply replied, "Forget we ever had this conversation." Almost had a threesome because of a bluff. I'm not sure if I missed a great opportunity or dodged a bullet. I'm in college, and while my parents are paying for my tuition and dorm room, I have to work to cover the rest of my expenses. Because my parents paid a little more, I have a single dorm room, meaning I have the room to myself. Last Friday, I had a date with a girl named Ashley. This was our second attempt at a first date. The first time was cancelled because she got sick. We were in the restaurant for about 10 minutes when a friend of hers, Kate, walked in. I suspect they had arranged this. Kate greeted us, and Ashley asked her to join us. I wasn't happy about that, but I didn't say anything. I read on Reddit about a guy in the same situation where they expected him to pay for everyone, so I was planning to use the same bluff he did. At the end of the night, the bill came, and I asked how we were going to handle it. Ashley asked me what I meant, saying, "Of course, I was meant to pay the bill." I was expecting that, so I said, "Ashley, I took you on a date and got Kate as extra. If I'm paying for all of us, I guess a threesome is on the table." I was expecting them to argue and eventually take out their wallets, but Kate called my bluff. She said, "Sure, how does tonight sound?" Ashley looked shocked, but she kept quiet. Kate was bluffing, I'm sure of it. I play a lot of poker, I was sure I could spot a bluff. So I said, "Okay, if I'm paying, both of you are coming with me to my dorm room tonight." Kate said, "Sure, I don't have to be up early tomorrow. We have all night long." I waited a few moments, giving them a chance to back out, and then gave the waiter my debit card. I escorted them to my car, still thinking they would back out, but they didn't. We drove to the dorm, and I was hoping they would back out. The truth is, I don't have a lot of sexual experience. I was really bluffing. I hardly know what to do with one girl, let alone two. I was nervous and wanted to back out myself, but my ego wouldn't let me. We walked to my dorm room, and just as I put the key in, Ashley broke. She said, "I'm not doing this. I'll Venmo you my half, and you can lose my number." They started to walk away, and Kate smiled, turned to me, and said, "I know you were bluffing, but I wasn't. Don't lose my number." With that, she gave me a piece of paper with her number on it. I am both excited and afraid to call Kate. Part 2. Am I the jerk for kicking my wife out the house? I 26 am live with my wife and two 8-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. I met my wife whilst on a meaningless fling a few years back. Unfortunately, that fling resulted in my 2T. Get me wrong, I love them to pieces, but they weren't resulted in my wife getting kicked out her home at just 17 and being disowned, as she had originated from a very strict religious family. I don't think I've ever felt so guilty in my life since then. After the chaos died down, call me old-fashioned, but I proposed to her and we got, this is the part people think everything went wrong, but it wasn't. We were generally happy. I loved her, and she loved was until the cheating started. When the twins were 2 was the first time she had done it, and I forgave her, but that just opened up many other affairs which I still forgave. I know, it's pathetic. I just have such a soft spot for her. And I still love her. It's just hard to know that your everything doesn't see you as you see them. Years later to the present, the affairs are becoming more frequent and so common I find it a daily routine. Till last Monday. I come home early to find her in bed with my clothes was the last straw, and I threw out all her belongings on the street and told her to stay with my friend as he mattered so much. Now I am getting messages and threats from her friends and even some of my family saying I was horrible for kicking her out when we have children, and I'm starting to agree with them. Am I in the wrong? Do I have attention-seeking behavior? If so, how do I change it? Hey guys, I am a person who grew my whole life in a boarding school, and it was an only girls boarding school. I have joined uni recently, and there is a lot of new exchange students, especially boys all over from Europe at my uni. Now I ended up having crush on this one boy from Greece, and I used to talk about him to my friends a lot, even the slightest things such him saying hi to me, or seeing him walking to uni and shit. A few weeks back I got to know from him that he is seeing someone at the moment and it's pretty serious. This shit kind of hurted me. And whenever me and my girls are in conversations with his other friends, my own friends brings his name up as a way to put me in the spot. Now the thing is, if he had liked me romantically, will I date him? Or reciprocate the same feelings towards him? No. Do I enjoy the attention from others whenever they ship us? Yes. Do I say to my friends I have moved on from having a thing for him? Yes. But do I still talk about him to this day to my friends even after knowing he finds me annoying and he is also dating at the moment? Yes. Okay, hear me out now. At the same time, I also used to have a thing for this boy from Italy. I used to joke around to my friends how cute he is and stuff. He also had a best friend from Spain who was even cuter, who again I also talk about. So my friends then started shipping me with both the guys. A few days back I got to know the Italian guy has a crush on me, but then now I told my friends I would never give in nor date him, even though knowing he is a sweet boy and he genuinely likes me. And currently I am fixated on his best friend from Spain, who was someone who used to give me some attention, like my stories, have deep talks with me. But since the two guys are best friends and his friend has a crush on me, he stopped giving me the attention as he is following the bro code. But then something somewhere hits me, that, do I miss the attention from Spanish guy before his friend liked me? Yes. But do I enjoy the attention from the Italian guy? Yes. Will I date the Italian guy? No. Why the hell am I like this? I had a pretty normal childhood though, even though being in boarding school my parents have always taken care of me, and given me the attention I needed growing up. PLS humble me. Employees look down at me, not knowing my family owns the company. I'm 22 years old and just graduated fresh from college. Before I started applying to different companies, My parents made it clear that I was going to work for their company and hopefully run it in the future when they retire. My parents own a huge waste management service company and have become really successful. They decided that I needed to learn about the family business from the ground up, which meant that I had to do a lot of dirty work. My dad gave me different tasks throughout the week. Some days, I was with the crew on the trucks rolling out to collect bins from all over the city. Other days, I was at the recycling center, learning how they sort materials and seeing what happens next. I grew to appreciate the workers there and admired them. The people I worked with didn't know who I was, and I had no plan of telling them. I wanted them to treat me without any special treatment, and I wanted to experience everything from scratch. Everything went well for the first few weeks until I started getting treated like complete shit. I found myself doing most of the work throughout the day, and sometimes other employees would tell me to make sure the bins were lined up straight. I didn't mind the work, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't getting a little aggravated by doing their jobs. I did this for months until my breaking point came on a rainy day. That day, we were short-staffed and the workload was heavy. I couldn't sleep that night and came to work already tired. Not to mention, I ended up getting drenched and started getting fed up with being treated as the company's pack mule. When we started wrapping up, one of the senior workers, Ron, threw a share of the remaining tasks at me. He told me that he had to leave early and that I should handle it because I was new to the job and he was my senior. I got fed up with it and told him that I wouldn't do it and that he should do it himself. He looked at me, confused, as if I disrespected him. He smirked at me and told me that management was not going to like it if they heard him saying bad things about my work. I looked at him and told him to go to management because I didn't care. I even told him that I would go to management with him if he wanted. Found my neighbor practically dead. So last week I noticed my elderly widower neighbor 90M, let's call him Frank, had 2 newspapers in front of his driveway. Every day he brings the paper in and sits out front on the porch reading it, so I thought it was odd 2 days worth was out there. Brought it up to the house and peeked in the garage window and saw his car still there. I looked through all the windows into all the rooms. He was 100 not home. I figured he went out of town to family for Labor Day. Saw him the following day at the house reading his paper and talked to him, and sure enough he went out of town. Told him I checked the house to make sure he was okay, and he appreciated that. Today I happened to go outside again, been under the weather this week, and saw there was 3 papers out there. I grabbed them and brought them up the house and was going to do the routine of making sure he wasn't home. And I happened to notice that the living room window was wide open and all the lights were on. Peeked in and didn't see anything. Saw car in garage again. I thought okay, maybe he just forgot to shut the window and left a light on for security. Went around the back and, crap, back door wide open, just the screen latched. He may be old but he's not that careless. Called the cops and they arrived within a minute small town and we made entry. We found him on his recliner, barely conscious. He couldn't make it to his phone to call for help. Called for an ambulance and they got there in 5 minutes and brought him to hospital. Looks like he may have had a stroke, all the symptoms. Found Frank Jr.'s phone number and gave him the info and secured the house. Going to pray for him tonight and go over tomorrow and clean up the couch, soiled it from sitting for 3 days, and then stop to hospital to check on him. Although they probably won't give me info since not family. Moral of story: please check on your elderly neighbors. If something don't seem right, it probably isn't. 4 days ago my coworker, who's also my friend, fell down the stairs and died in front of me. 4 days ago I was walking with a coworker on a break just to stretch our legs. We work in an office setting, so like to get up every once in a while and get some fresh air. We walk in a half circle around the building. In the back there are stairs that we like to go down and then back up on our way back for exercise. It's 2 sets of 15 concrete steps. It was a beautiful sunny day with blue skies. Near the top of the stairs we were in mid-conversation while heading down, and all of a sudden I hear him go oh god and trip and fall somehow. He rolled down and landed at the bottom in a heap, face first in the concrete. I just stared for a few seconds because it was so sudden. I ran to the bottom while asking if he's okay, but he didn't move or respond. I got close and realized there was blood coming from his head and face, and his arms and legs were seized up and stiff when I tried to roll him over. I freaked out but managed to call 911 while also texting another co-worker friend of mine to come outside the office because our friend fell. 911 told me to roll him over and do CPR while they came, which I did. The ambulance got there about 7 minutes after I called and took him to the hospital, but I'm 99% sure he was already dead when I was doing CPR. I feel really weird about it. Like sad, but also just strange. It's hard to put into words. It doesn't seem real. I will get flashes where I realize what happened and feel an intense tightness in my chest, and the severity of it hits me. I keep imagining him laying at the bottom of the stairs face down, and also his torn up face when I was giving him CPR when he was already dead. It's also just really sad because he was one of my best friends at work. I've barely slept since Tuesday, and was full of adrenaline for a full day after it happened. He was single with no kids or anything. Only has a brother and father who live in other states. I don't really know why I'm writing all this, but I just feel really strange and am wondering if anyone ever experienced something like this. Edit: didn't expect this post to get so much traction. I appreciate all the advice and positive thoughts sent my way. It saddens me that many of you have similar experiences. I can't respond to every comment, but I am reading every single one. Thank you. GF26F had an affair with her boss but wants to stay together. I 28M have been with my girlfriend 26F for 3 years, and we've been living together for almost the entire time. 2 months ago, she received a job offer that would essentially require us to move further away from my job and my brother. I asked her not to accept the job, but she thought it would be good for her career, so I eventually conceded and agreed to move with her. She informed her current job that she was leaving, and during that week, she came to me and said she wasn't sure if things would work out between us because I had been so unsupportive. She mentioned she was unhappy and that I didn't make her feel special. This news really shook me because I always envisioned a future with her. The thought of losing her over something seemingly trivial motivated me to take action. I immediately booked a fancy hotel room for us and took her out to show her how much I loved her. She agreed that we could take it day by day, so I did everything possible to make her believe in us again. I woke up early to cook breakfast, sent her sweet messages, and did everything I could think of to make her feel special. Later that week, I overheard her laughing on the phone with her boss, which gave me a weird feeling. I had always felt uncomfortable with how unprofessional she seemed with him, especially since they would hang out outside of work in groups with co-workers. That night, while she was sleeping, I decided to check her phone, not expecting to find anything but just to be sure. However, the texts I found between her and her boss were extremely suggestive. I woke her up and confronted her. She admitted that he had confessed his feelings for her and that she might have feelings for him. She said he had kissed her once when she told him she was leaving the company, but nothing had happened since. She also told me that he had been trying to convince her to leave me. We stayed up all night talking, and I told her that I could move on if she recommitted to our relationship and cut off all contact with him. The next day was her last day at her old job, and she told me she had the conversation with him and blocked him. The next 6 weeks were incredibly difficult for me, but I eventually started to feel better. However, there were a few inconsistencies in her story that bothered me. I wanted to move forward, get engaged, and recommit, but I needed to know the whole truth. So, I reached out to her boss. He told me that they had kissed 3 times, not just once, and the last time they kissed was when she told him she was going to try to reconcile with me on her last day of work, after I found out. He also mentioned that they had talked a little the following week after she claimed she had blocked him and promised me she would never lie again. Now, I don't know what to do. I kicked her out of our apartment and said we couldn't live together anymore, but she keeps telling me she'll do anything to make it work between us. I told her I needed 2 weeks before we could talk again, but I don't know if I can ever get over this. Did she choose him over me? Was I the second option? What would have happened if I never found out? I don't know if I should move on or try to make it work. I still love her, and we have so much history together. We've gone on family vacations, and I had planned to propose within a few months. I'm so confused and feel alone. Are all women like this? Is there any chance of rebuilding trust? Gramma, you're going to die when you're 80. When I was younger, I was extremely close to my great-grandma. She didn't like to say I was her favorite, but I was always the one snuggled up to her in church, wanting to wear her pearls, grabbing the donation bowls for her to count. She was a very godly lady, prayed all the time. I was also very emotional, even for a child. Once, I stepped on a bug by accident and cried because I thought I was going to hell. My great-grandma prayed for its soul and told me Jesus forgave me. She would, apparently according to her daughter, my gram, pray all the time for me. Whenever I was 3, I looked at her in the middle of a conversation and told her, "Grandma, you're going to die when you're 80. And when she pressed further I said, "An angel told me so." At the time, she was 72 or 73, I'm not quite sure. Everyone laughed it off, because I was just a little kid and death was a new concept for me, right? Whenever my grandma was 80, she was in a nursing home due to a minor fall. She apparently saw her husband, my papa who passed years prior, who told her that it was her time. She was pretty healthy for an 80-year-old, minor sugar issues and dialysis once a week. Nope, she pulled herself off of her treatments and passed shortly after. Everyone joked about what I said, but no one took it seriously. But I did. I keep just knowing when someone would pass. My paternal grandma knew she wouldn't make it to see me enter middle school. She passed 3 days prior. My babysitter, who was like another grandma to me, didn't think she would see me start college, died a day after I moved into the dorms. My pap, my mother's father, I knew he would pass suddenly since I was 15. He passed back in 23. I was talking to him Saturday and he passed Thursday morning. He was perfectly healthy for his age, was put on supplemental oxygen and his knees weren't great, but he was still very active. Everything in me told me I needed to go see him, but everyone told me he would recover. I even woke up at 3:12 a.m., crying, and telling my boyfriend something was very wrong. I got the call from my mom at 5:05 telling me he passed 2 hours prior and she was sorry she didn't call me to come down, but she made an hour drive in 15 and barely made it herself. I hate this gift. I don't want my other predictions to come true. He cheated on me with a minor. So I 20F have been dating my boyfriend, Daniel 24 meters for 8 months. These past months have been hard on our relationship. I thought that finals and school was stressing us both out, and I thought summer we'd finally relax and our relationship would bounce back. Turns out Daniel has actually just been in the habit of doing minors. One of these girls knocked on my door. This girl was clearly very nervous and her face was red and clammy and I didn't know what to think. She asked if I was my name. When I said yes, she started crying and handed me this manila envelope and explained that her and my boyfriend had been dating for a month and that she stumbled onto his main account, had her older sister follow him, and saw me on there and had no idea I existed. The girl went on to explain how she got cheated on once and wouldn't wish it on anyone, and in the envelope was printed out messages and explicit pics of him. Then the girl begged me not call the police and to just confront him because her parents would do something. She left and I was floored. I felt like I wasn't myself. I didn't know what to say or do, but now I thank him in the raging bitch face, so I sent his D-pic to his family group chat along with some of the messages and turned off my phone. I'm typing this on my computer. Can't wait to turn on my phone tomorrow morning. Fuck you, Daniel. Edit. Whoa. I did not expect this to reach the amount of people it did. So let me backtrack a bit. Okay, first, I did not send only his D-pics to his mom, crying face emoji. I sent all messages and stuff I got, pictures and all. Secondly, weird men messaging, leave me alone please, folded hands emoji. No, I don't want to mess around. No, I don't want to talk. Third, yes, I did drop off the messages to the police department this morning. They were busy and just asked for my number to call me, so don't know if that was how I was supposed to go. Now for my favorite part. This morning I woke up to Daniel in my kitchen, in only his boxers, crying on the floor like a child, saying I ruined his life and how I was a spiteful bitch. I laughed at Daniel and once he started yelling I called my brother and he already knew about the entire thing, so he dragged Dan out of the house and left him in the yard. I don't know where Daniel went, but I don't know if this is the end. I'll see what else that fucking idiot does. Growing heart emoji. How I accidentally cooked up World War I in my neighbor's basement. I am such an idiot for not paying attention to chemistry class back in high school. So, I was helping my elderly neighbor out with cleaning the basement so he could renovate it into a cigar lounge for him and his buddies. It was quite musty and dirty down there since he haven't been using it for years nor did he clean it. So, it was my role to clean the entire basement while my neighbor had to go to the doctor for a routine checkup. For some reason, I had the bright idea of mixing household chemicals to boost their potency. The basement was that dirty and I really wanted to get things done. I mixed bleach and ammonia together and threw the mixture onto the basement floor. I immediately started coughing and had trouble breathing. I had a hunch I must have really screwed up and left the basement and closed the door before leaving the house. I called 911 and told them what happened. They sent poison control or some guys in hazmat suits to the house. When I called my neighbor and told him what happened, he was perplexed why I even mixed chemicals in the first place. Then, he started laughing and joked about me, a restaurant cook, cooking up World War I in his basement. Everything went back to normal and the house was safe to enter again. I resumed cleaning and made sure I just used plain soap and water instead of bleach or other chemicals. Afterwards, the basement was cleaned and the elderly neighbor could finally start renovating the basement. Thus concluded the tale how I cooked up World War I in a basement. How my son changed. I 45F adopted my son 21 meters when he was 12. He came from an abusive household and it took him a little bit to warm up to me. I remember one day, my cousin 42 meters was visiting. My son had only been with me for 6 months and he was still pretty reserved. I was worried about him and I was terrified that I was doing something wrong. And then my cousin said something that will always stay with me. My cousin said he's okay now. It's just taking him a bit to get comfortable because he's been through some things. He has a good mom now. My son started warming up to me shortly after that and he's grown so much. I've noticed that he's been way happier and way less reserved. And he's a firefighter now. And I'm so proud of him. When I first adopted him he was this short, scrawny kid and now he's so tall. He's muscular now, too, because he's a firefighter. He was 5 feet 4 inches when I first adopted him and now he's 6 foot 2. I'm only 5'9". And I have to look up when I talk to him. He grew so much and it was so gradual that I didn't notice until recently. He has a kind soul and he's a genuinely good person. I'm so proud of the person he's become and who he is today. Husband wants to reset his whole life. Hi, I'm a 35-year-old woman married to a 45-year-old man for over 7 years. We have 4 beautiful kids. My husband recently had his birthday this week. I surprised him with a pregnancy test result that we will be having a 5th child. He seemed to have a meltdown when he heard it and he said no, it is impossible. We have been careful. I thought he would be happy as he said it himself when we were dating that he wants a lot of kids. I calmed him down somehow. Yesterday, I went with my husband to the gynecologist to have my sonogram and the doctor says I am 10 weeks pregnant and we are having twins. My husband was livid. He keeps screaming, no, 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 no. I lost count of him saying no. After his meltdown at doctor's office he told me that he just can't have 6 kids at his age. I got confused as what he is saying as I know he wanted a big family. He wanted it himself. I cried and told him what are we supposed to do and he keeps saying that he just can't have 6 kids. On our way home he says how he should not have gotten married and have kids and he does not know anymore if his life is worth it, that he'd be happy to have a reset button. I got so mad I told him that it takes 2 to tango. That creating a kid is not just my fault. Today I woke up with screaming and crying kids begging their father to not go. Turns out he already packed and ready to go. My 3-year-old is hugging his father's luggage and crying and his face is stoic. By then I knew I was stupid to committing a mistake of marrying him. It may be hard as I am pregnant right now, but I got a full-time job and we do have a nanny and supportive family and friends. It is best if he go. I do not need another baby to take care of. So, to my dear soon-to-be ex-husband Jerry, FCKU. Don't come back. X200B. I hooked up with my husband's twin and he's the best I had and now I am questioning everything. I 19F been married to Jake 30M for a year now. Jake has an identical twin, Liam. Liam was the kind of the one-night stand guy who slept with everyone he saw. I always felt like he is trying to hit on me every time we talked, but I always excused it like it's just how he talks. I was at home watching TV while Jake was on a work trip then suddenly I heard the front door open and there was he, Liam. I thought Jake had told him to come by to give me SMTH. But then he sat next to me on the couch, then started asking me if I miss Jake because it was long trip. I said that I do miss him and asked why did he come. He said he was there to give me something like I expected. He leaned closer to me, then, he started to take my shirt and pants off. I wanted to stop him but something stopped me. I am not sure if it is the longing or his beautiful face that looked exactly like my husband. He took his and my clothes off and started taking me to Pound Town. It was magical. It was rough but delightful. He sucked my nipples, licked my cat, I sucked his magic wound, he finished on my face and made me drink his milk. Then he left without saying goodbye or giving a kiss. When Jake was back all he wanted was to take me to Pound Town after a long trip, so I let him. But I didn't even feel it, there was no feelings and I didn't even finish. And now I don't think I'm with the right one. I accidentally matched with my boss on a dating app. And things got messy. So, I 24M recently downloaded a dating app after my friends convinced me that my love life needed a revival. I was swiping casually until I matched with someone named Leah. She was stunning, dark hair, piercing eyes, and this confident smirk in every photo. We started chatting, and the conversation just flowed. Witty banter, subtle flirting, and within a few days, we were exchanging some, let's just say very bold messages. After a week, she suggested we meet for drinks. I was pumped. I showed up early, dressed in my best time casually hot outfit. When she walked in, my stomach dropped. It wasn't Leah, it was my boss, Monica 32F. You know, the one who leads weekly boardroom meetings and is terrifyingly good at shutting down bad ideas. We both froze. I was about to make an awkward excuse and leave, but she just smiled slyly and said, well, this is unexpected, but not unwelcome. I was stunned. She ordered us drinks, and before I knew it, we were laughing and flirting. The tension was insane. Long story short, we ended up back at her place. It was passionate, spontaneous, and honestly the best night I've had in a while. The problem? The next morning, she casually mentioned she's engaged to a guy I've met during office events. I felt like an idiot. To make matters worse, things at work got weird. She keeps making subtle innuendos during meetings, and I swear she's brushing against me on purpose. Now, I can't tell if I'm in over my head or if this is some weird power game. Do I back off or see where it goes? I lost my legs in war then fought the army to bring my dog home. I'm Logan Reese, just a guy who thought he'd seen the worst war could offer. Thorke came into my life as a scruffy pup with oversized ears and a spark of attitude when I could still run drills under the California sun. We shipped out to Afghanistan together. I was a Marine and he became my shadow. He wasn't just a dog. He turned into my eyes, my instincts, my anchor. One day a night exploded during our patrol. I woke up surrounded by dust and blood with my legs gone. Thor was there dragging me out, his teeth clamped on my vest, whining as if he'd lose me too. After that he slept pressed against me, chasing away the nightmares that clawed at my mind. The Corps decided to take him. They called him their property, not my partner. I watched them haul him off to a cage. His brown eyes searched for me and it shattered something deeper than the blast ever could. I sued them, wheeled myself into a courtroom against officers with stone faces. Colonel Foster swore it was protocol. I told them Thor hadn't eaten, wouldn't move, just lay there waiting for my voice. They played a tape of me calling him. He howled, a sound that ripped through my chest. Then he broke free, bolted past the bailiff, crashed into my lap trembling and licking my face like I was his whole world. Even Foster saluted with wet eyes, his armor cracking. The judge saw it all and gave Thor back to me. Now we're in Ohio on a porch with snow dusting his fur, helping vets like us find their way. He's my heart, my fight, my peace. The full story lives on Emotional Daily Story YouTube. Your ZFTBPM? CTH88 Pokax J Sadoof. What would you do for a bond like that? I ruined my husband's Thanksgiving. Okay, I know I might sound like a lunatic here, but after what my now ex-husband Jake pulled, I think I was justified. Buckle up, because this Thanksgiving wasn't about gratitude, it was about revenge. So, Jake and I had been married for 6 years, and I thought things were fine. But 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I found out he'd been screwing Megan, his coworker, a wannabe Instagram model with the personality of soggy bread. How did I find out? She left her lipstick in his jacket pocket. When I asked about it, Jake stammered something about a group Halloween party. Spoiler alert, they weren't playing dress up, unless sleazy side piece counts as a costume. I did my homework, dug through his phone when he fell asleep early, and bingo texts, photos, even videos. Not only was he cheating, but he had been bragging about it to his friends. Stuff like, she's hotter than Sarah, and finally found someone who doesn't nag me. Oh, but it gets worse, he invited her to our Thanksgiving dinner because she doesn't have family nearby. Instead of kicking him out right then, I smiled, kissed his lying face, and said, "Of course, babe." The more, the merrier. Thanksgiving was my Super Bowl now, and I was going all out. I prepped every dish with care, but I had a few secret ingredients to add some spice. Megan was all smiles when she showed up with her dollar store wine, acting like she wasn't sleeping with my husband. I played nice, complimented her dress which screamed clearance rack, and made sure she got a front row seat to the drama. When everyone sat down for dinner, I kicked things off with a toast. I just want to say how thankful I am for family, for friends, and for clarity. You see, I've recently learned so much about myself and the people I thought I could trust. Jake, Megan. I locked eyes with them. This is really your moment. Cue the awkward silence. Then, I pulled out my laptop connected to the TV. Oh yes, I made a PowerPoint with screenshots of their texts, photos of them sneaking around, and a particularly spicy video of Megan doing, well, let's just say something that made Jake's mom scream, "Oh my god." The table exploded. Jake was yelling, Megan was crying, his parents were mortified, and my mom just sat there sipping her wine like she was watching her favorite soap opera. But I wasn't done. "Oh, and Megan," I said, cutting through the chaos, "I wanted to make sure you felt special today. So, I made you something." I went to the kitchen and came back with a casserole dish. Everyone watched as I dramatically removed the foil, revealing a pile of raw turkey guts, the kind they pull out before selling. I called this home wrecker's surprise. Enjoy. Then I dumped the entire dish onto Megan's lap. The sound she made was somewhere between a shriek and a gag. She bolted from the table covered in blood and slime. Jake tried to follow her, but I stopped him. "Oh, you're not going anywhere. You see, I packed your stuff. It's in the garage. Also, I called your boss and let him know what a great team player you are. Don't worry, he'll be reviewing those videos personally." His face went pale. He didn't even try to argue, just slunk out like the pathetic loser he is. His mom started crying, his dad apologized to me, and my mom raised her glass and said, "Best Thanksgiving ever." I thumbed a ride on an airplane. Back in the late 70s when I was a young man and hitchhiking was still a thing, I found myself in Oregon and was just heading back to my home in Colorado. I had Pete, my dog, with me and we were just on the outskirts of Portland, heading east. Jumping in and out of cars had become pretty routine for Pete, though he probably wondered what the point of all this traveling was. So there we were, once again on the side of the road, hoping for a car to pull to the side, and it didn't take long for one to pull over. It was a single male inside and we quickly jumped in and were down the road. He was clean-cut, older, and as usual, asked me where I was headed. I told him, and he said he was on his way to the airport to get his plane and I was welcome to come along if I wanted. I must have misunderstood at first, because I thought he was trying to get me to take a commercial flight instead of hitchhiking the rest of the way. I politely declined and began explaining that I really didn't have the money for a ticket and that the dog would be a problem too. He interrupted me halfway through and said no, he laughed, "It's my private plane. I'm just flying it over to Baker, so, like I said, you and the dog are welcome to come along." Well, That was almost 300 miles, so I immediately answered, "Oh, hell yeah." We pulled into the municipal airport and drove over to a hangar, where his small Cessna was parked. After a few quick checks, we were underway within 15 minutes. We all hopped in and naturally Pete just thought he was getting into another car, jumped into the back seat and promptly fell asleep. We were soon in the air and the pilot was pointing out landmarks and points of interest. It was all great and I couldn't believe my good fortune. Well, at some point, Pete woke up, stretched and looked out the window. All of a sudden, he starts shaking and realizes he's not in any ordinary car. I had to pet him and reassure him that things were all okay. He soon settled down, but it was a funny moment that I'll never forget. We landed safely in Baker. I gave huge thanks to the pilot and Pete. And I were soon on the highway again with a thumb in the air. I turned down a $200,000 job offer because it wasn't remote and now my friends think I'm selfish and privileged. I 29am recently faced a dilemma that has sparked a lot of heated debates among my friends and family. I was offered a position at a top-tier tech company with a $200,000 salary, which is a massive increase from my current pay. It was my dream job, exciting projects, a top-notch team, and great growth prospects. The catch? It required me to relocate to a major city and work in an office full-time. Here's the kicker: I've been working remotely for the past 3 years and I absolutely love it. My current setup allows me to work from a cozy rural area, where I've built a life that suits my needs: low stress, a great quality of life, and time for personal passions. Remote work has not only enhanced my productivity but also my well-being. After much consideration, I turned down the offer. My decision has sparked outrage among my friends and family. They argue that I'm being selfish and privileged for prioritizing my comfort over a significant career opportunity. They point out that not everyone has the luxury of turning down high-paying jobs and suggest that I'm out of touch with reality. Some even accuse me of having an entitled attitude, given that many people would jump at the chance for such a substantial salary boost. I understand their frustration, but I genuinely believe that my quality of life and personal happiness are worth more to me than a fat paycheck. But now I'm questioning if I'm missing out on a crucial career milestone. Am I being unrealistic and out of touch, or is my focus on personal well-being justified? TLDR: I turned down a $200,000 job offer because it wasn't remote, and now my friends think I'm selfish and out of touch. Am I wrong for valuing remote work and personal happiness over a huge salary increase? I accidentally shit the bed in front of my boyfriend. Warning: don't read this if you have any problems with feces and that kind of shit, pun intended. Someone told me that I should share this embarrassing story, so here we go. Disclaimer: English isn't my first language, so I'm sorry for all the spelling grammar mistakes. Me, F18, had just gotten in a relationship with my new sweet boyfriend M20. A little info about me: I have a chronic stomach wound which pops up whenever I'm really stressed. The relationship was very new, so we were both still quite shy. We had just gotten comfortable enough farting in front of each other though, and often made a joke out of it. About a month into our relationship I had to go to the hospital with my stomach wound. I was there for a week and he was super supportive the whole time. When I finally got home from the hospital, my body was so weak, I wasn't allowed to drink or eat anything the whole week because of the tests they had to make. Therefore my body had pretty much shut down. Nothing had come in, so nothing came out. I got prescribed some laxatives that I took. Never having taken them before, I didn't know what to expect, but it definitely wasn't this. We were laying in bed. I was on my side looking at my phone, and he was half sitting up in bed playing RuneScape on his laptop in front of me. I could feel a fart coming, so I looked up into his eyes with a smirk face expression and said, "I'm shitting." I meant to say "I'm farting," but the words came out wrong. And so did something else. The moment I said it, I let it all out, still with a smirk face expression, looking him right in the eyes. You could hear a wet bubbly sound, and I instantly knew what had happened. My smile faded and my face turned to horror. My hand flew down to stop the flow, but it was too late. Boyfriend jumped up and ran to the toilet to bring me paper. He helped me clean up while just laughing hysterically. I was so embarrassed that I couldn't even say anything. Later when we sat and talked, he told me that it was the most intimidating thing he had ever experienced. The way I looked right into his eyes, he had never felt so dominated in his life. Like a monkey shitting in its hand and throwing it. Needless to say, we got very quickly comfortable with intimate things like that after this. Even though we've broken up since then and it's been a few years, I'm to this day still just as embarrassed. I conversed with a group of teens hours before they shot and killed a man to steal his car. This occurred outside my home roughly 10 days ago. It's just past 5 p.m. and I'm watching TV with my dog. My wife looks out our living room window and says to me, "There's 4 gentlemen huddled next to your car." I get up and look out the window to see a couple teenage boys and a couple other slightly younger boys, eyeing my car on the street. I grab my keys and walk out our front door, unlocking the car remotely, which startles them. Immediately, the eldest boy says to me, "Hey, I know this looks bad, I'm just using your car for a mirror." The rest of the boys stay silent and look away. I reassure him and say all good, I'm just grabbing something from my car as I shuffle around and grab my sunglasses. I shut the door and casually ask, "So what's going on, guys?" The eldest is the only one to speak, and says nothing. "We're just waiting for a friend to pick us up." I tell them to stay safe, give him a fist bump, and head back inside. They walk away shortly after. The next day, my wife shows me a news story of a 64-year-old Uber driver who had been shot by a group of 4 teens. Too much of a coincidence, I thought, but the ages of the boys in the article matched what the group of boys outside my house appeared to be the previous day. I shrugged it off as happenstance, and went about my day. 3 days later, a couple of the boys were shown in court on the news, and sure enough, they were the same group I had spoken to. Aged 11-17, it could have been me who they shot and stole a car from, and I wonder today why they didn't. Simply because I treated them with respect? Counting myself lucky. I didn't take a shit for almost a week. Harsh language. Currently I'm fighting for my life on the toilet writing this on a Sunday morning. So the story starts on Monday. I was just chilling during the day, when I started to have insane stomach pains at around 10 p.m. I complained about it to my girlfriend on the phone, and she suggested I'd go take a dump. I listened, and headed for the toilet. Turns out I had diarrhea. I sat on that toilet until 11:20 p.m. After that, the pain lasted for about an hour. Then I fell asleep. I woke up the next day, went to school and just chilled for the day. At this point it was Tuesday. In the evening, I was wondering why I didn't have any urges to poop. I shrugged it off, and went to sleep. The next day my girlfriend came over. I hadn't talked to her about it. On this day I didn't have any urges either. Then Thursday comes around, nothing again. Friday is here. Now is this the day? I was wondering. Turns out it wasn't. The next day my girlfriend came over again. So did a bit of my friends too. Nothing again. My friends spent the night, and I still didn't have any urges. On Saturday, which was yesterday, we just chilled. I still couldn't take a shit. I was getting concerned and Googling about it at this point. My other friends left, and it was just me and one other guy left. We decided to do an all-nighter, so we did. Went to the store, got some snacks and watched The Nun 1-2 in a row. At the last minutes my stomach started making sounds. Felt like some sort of fucking storm was brewing inside me. I thugged it out and watched the movie. Now at this point it's Sunday at 6 a.m. I haven't slept at all. My friend went to my room, and I headed for the toilet. My stomach was still hurting like a bitch, so I just forced the shit out. It came like a waterfall. Mind you, I hadn't taken a shit in 6 days, and had no urges. I usually take shits once per day. As I'm writing this, I'm literally fighting for my fucking life on the toilet. If hell is real, this is how I imagine it to be. Pray for me. I will update you guys soon. I found my dad through his Reddit account and now I'm scared she is going to leave him because of me. My mother F30 always told me that I am 16 was a stupid high school mistake and that my father didn't love me. The only contact I was able to get with him through the years is my grandmother would pass on Christmas cards and birthday cards from him that had messages written inside about how he hoped my life was going, what he was doing. But it was always from the perspective of an inquisitive cat. There would be little cats drawn inside too. I could never figure out whether or not she was writing them, but they didn't look like her writing. They stopped coming when she passed away 4 years ago from an accident involving a Tesla on cruise control. When we got the payout from the accident, my grandmother had left all of her will to me. My mother was furious, but kept looking after me, making me pay rent until she could legally kick me out. Shortly before my 16th birthday, one final letter came through the door, addressed to me for my birthday. I hid it from my mother and read it. It was like the other letters, but this time instead of being addressed from your father, it was addressed from Mr. W and contained a picture of a cat. With the money I got from my grandmother's will, I moved to a quadplex just outside of Bel Air and I'm currently making money renting to aspiring actors. I hired a private detective to track down Mr. W, but he didn't turn up anything for months, until yesterday when he sent me this subreddit. I was reading though a post and through some searching found the Mr. Whiskers Reddit user. His manner of writing, the cat's photo, it all added up. I have instructed my private eye to reach out. I don't need anything from him. I have a small fortune that I'm investing into crypto, but I want to get to know my father. I can't get past him never visiting me, but if my mother lied to me, maybe she lied to him as well. I'm worried now though because it seems his love of cats has gotten him into marital trouble. Him and his wife are about 30. I don't know if they have children yet, but a 16-year-old coming out of nowhere might throw his whole life into disarray. Would it be wrong to reach out? I also cat post on the internet under the handle Detective Mittens08. And I don't want to create a situation where I push my father away from me, his wife, or worse his passion. I fucked with my best friend and it was great. I'm a 25-year-old woman, and a few months ago, I found out that my best friend 23M Oswald, not his real name, is secretly a furry. During a camping trip we went on, Oswald asked me to take pictures of him in front of a waterfall. I'm mentioning this because he specifically told me to use his phone. While I was taking photos, I noticed an Instagram notification pop up on his screen. Normally, I wouldn't care about something like that, but I couldn't help but notice that the username next to the notification wasn't from the account I knew he had. I swiped the notification away and kept taking pictures, but the idea that he had another account stuck with me. Oswald and I have known each other since elementary school, and we've always told each other everything, literally everything, no exaggeration, so I couldn't believe he'd have something to hide from me. When we got back to the campsite, I searched for the username on Instagram as far as I could remember. After 3 tries, I found a furry account with someone in a penguin costume. At first, I didn't think it could possibly be Oswald, but when I noticed that the room in the account's photos was unmistakably his bedroom, it hit me that it really was him. Through a link in his Instagram bio, I also found his Twitter account tied to this persona of him. That's when I decided to create my own furry account, befriend him, and eventually meet up to prank him. Over the years, we'd played small pranks on each other, so I didn't think this would cause any issues. To sum it up quickly, I chose a cat as my animal persona and set up a furry account, then worked my way into Oswald's furry friend group. A few weeks later, I learned they were all planning to get together and rent a hotel, so I decided to keep the game going a bit longer. I'd heard a little about furry orgy parties and, honestly, I was curious. My plan was to flirt with Oswald at the hotel, then reveal who I was before things went too far and end my little prank. But things didn't exactly go as planned. Long story short, by the end of the day, between the flirting, some substances, and the alcohol, we ended up in a private room, just the two of us, and things happened. As you might guess from the title, by the end of the night, I found myself wearing nothing but the cat mask on my face on top of Oswald in his penguin costume, having the best sex of my life. Right now, I'm still in that hotel room. Oswald's asleep on the bed, and he still has no idea who I am. Do you think I should tell him who I am, or should I just leave before he wakes up like it's a one-night stand and then delete all these furry accounts afterward? What should I do? Please help. I got gifted condoms, but I thought they were candy. This was in school when I was not an adult yet, and I was just waiting around after school finished. I was a pretty lonely kid and I didn't know a lot about stuff like what people talk about or what people around me were up to or anything. I didn't like anyone in my school to be friends with. It seemed everyone had their own groups they hung out with as well. Then this guy came that I kind of knew from someone. He was from a bigger grade, final year I think, and he just casually gave me a condom, saying, "Here, enjoy it, don't be so sad." I took it politely, thanking him for what I thought was some candy. It had a cool wrapping, I thought. I acted all excited for it like it was candy, accepting it without being surprised. Maybe that caught him off guard in his mind. Probably thought, why the hell is this guy not saying anything about it? When he went away, I got the condom from my bag to have a look and opened it. Slime touched my hands and so I thought it was a weird candy, and was afraid to try it. I only realized it was not candy after I started reluctantly biting into it like how I always do to any candy regardless of what it looks like. This led me to searching up on the internet typing condom after reading that on the wrapper, and I was right. It's one of those things that people put on when doing certain stuff. On my way out I just chucked the condom away, which accidentally fell and slapped on a cat walking by, who also tried eating it before making a face and sneezing. That's the story of me learning that condoms exist and that they are wrapped around like candy, probably as a disguise. I had to stay more days in the hospital because of a cute doctor. When I was 14, I'm 29F. I went on a vacation trip to Peru with my parents. About 1 week in I got really sick. Woke up in the middle of the night with terrible stomach pain, fever and cold sweat. The hotel called an ambulance. We went to the hospital and I was diagnosed with an intestinal infection, which required me to stay there for a few days. After some time, I don't remember how many days, I was feeling much better and we were hoping I would soon be discharged. The doctor would visit every day to check my vitals and do what doctors do, but this day he came in the room with a group of young doctors, students, residents, and teen me thought one of them was really cute, lol. My heart started racing and my face got hot, so when the doctor checked my heart rate it was really high, and he said something about it being a sign that the infection might still be there. So I had to stay for a couple more days. To be honest, I don't know if there were other symptoms that he saw or if it was really my teenage heart that caused my extended stay there. I speak Portuguese, so I can understand some Spanish, not perfectly though, but I remember him talking about my heart rate. Never told anyone this because I always thought it was stupid, lol. I killed my dog. Before you judge me, please read. I need to get this off my chest. Max was my best friend. A golden retriever with a heart bigger than most humans I know. He was always there through my divorce, the nights I drank too much, the mornings I woke up hating myself. He'd nuzzle my hand, reminding me I wasn't alone. Last month, Max started slowing down. He'd struggled to stand, his breathing labored, and the vet confirmed what I was too afraid to admit: cancer. Aggressive, untreatable. He's in pain, the vet said gently. You'll know when it's time. I didn't want to know. I couldn't face it. I bought him his favorite treats, took him on walks even though he could barely make it to the end of the street, and slept on the floor beside him when he cried at night. Yesterday, he looked at me differently. His eyes were pleading, almost begging. It hit me like a truck. He was asking me to let him go. The vet came to the house. I held Max in my arms, sobbing, as the injection went in. I whispered every apology I could think of, told him I loved him, and that he was the best boy. He looked at me one last time, and then he was gone. I've been spiraling ever since. Did I do the right thing? Did I let him down? The house feels so empty now. I keep expecting to hear his paws on the floor, or his goofy bark when he saw a squirrel, but all I hear is silence. I killed my dog. I know that's the truth, but I also know I did it because I loved him too much to let him suffer. To anyone who's been through this, how do you cope? Because right now, the guilt is suffocating me. I saw my boyfriend at work yesterday. My 27F boyfriend 23 meters, and I both work at the airport. He's a construction worker and I'm on the fire rescue team. My boyfriend's company sometimes has projects in our building and I love it when they do because I get to see him at work when I'm in. We live together, so we see each other every day, but it's fun when we see each other at work. I saw him at work yesterday. It was my boyfriend and his coworker. I was walking with my coworker when I saw them. We went over to them and gave my boyfriend a hug and a kiss. We had a quick 2-minute chat. Then my coworker and I went back to what we were doing. Seeing him was fun, even though I just saw him at home earlier yesterday morning. We saw each other a bit more throughout the day, but it was just in passing. I saw him again for a couple of minutes this morning, too. We were having our morning meeting before the shift change and I gave him a quick hug and kiss afterwards. We had a quick chat before I said I'd see him after work. We ride together on weekdays. I work because we both work at the airport. The next day, I take the car home in the morning and pick my boyfriend up when he's done. My boyfriend was in a really good mood when I picked him up this afternoon. He said it was because he got to see me at work 2 days in a row. The fact that he gets so happy about seeing me for a quick second, especially since we live together. His coworker took a picture of us in front of the building yesterday. I love him so much and I really love seeing him at work. It makes my days so much better. My coworkers love him and his coworkers love me. My friends love him and his friends love me. My parents adore him and his parents really like me. I just picked him up and we just got home, and the whole ride, he kept talking about how awesome it was to see me. He said that seeing me turns his mediocre days into amazing days. I love seeing him, too. I get so happy whenever I see him at work because I get to see the person that I love most earlier than expected. It's a really nice day out, and we're relaxing in the sun right now. Seeing him at work yesterday and today made both days so much better. I slept with my therapist. I never thought I'd be in this position, but here I am. I'm consumed with guilt and honestly a little confusion. I've been seeing my therapist for about a year, and he specializes in eating disorders, which is something I've struggled with for a long time. Over time, our sessions became more personal and emotional. It started with longer eye contact and his comforting touch on my shoulder. After one particularly intense session, he hugged me for a little too long. The line began to blur, and I started to develop feelings for him. One evening, after a deeply personal conversation about my progress and how I wish I had someone to celebrate with, he invited me to grab some drinks. I thought it was just him being kind and supportive, but in the back of my head I honestly hoped he'd confirm having similar feelings that I'd been having. We sat closer than usual. At one point he even reached out to hold my hand. I could feel the tension between us. He complimented my progress and told me how proud he was of me. That's honestly what sent me even further into this intense feeling of lust. His words were soothing, and before I knew it, we were kissing. It felt surreal, like a dream. One thing led to another, and we ended up going back to his place and sleeping together. I know it was a huge ethical breach, and now I'm struggling with my emotions. I'm terrified of the consequences and that I now need to look for a different therapist. I'm never good at starting over. What I'm going to do, I just needed to tell someone. I surprised my girlfriend with Taylor Swift tickets. She wanted to bring her friend instead. Me and my girlfriend, both 26, have been dating for 3 years now. My girlfriend is a huge Taylor Swift fan and was really excited when she found out Taylor would be performing at MetLife Stadium, right near us. I decided to surprise her with Taylor Swift concert tickets, since I knew she really wanted to go. I called in sick the day the tickets dropped and waited in the Ticketmaster queue for 2 hours. Finally, when it opened up, I bought 2 seats, for $400 each, presumably one for her, and another for me. When she came back from work that night I surprised her with the tickets, and she was ecstatic. However, when I claimed I was excited to go with her, she got very confused and claimed she thought the 2 tickets were for her and her best friend, who is also a big Taylor Swift fan. I was very disappointed since I believed that this was an experience we could do together and it would be something we would remember for the rest of our lives. My girlfriend could tell I was upset and said she would be happy to go with me instead. I told her she should go with whoever she wanted to go with more, and to not go with me just because it was what I had planned. After hearing this, my girlfriend immediately called her friend and told her that they were going to the Taylor Swift concert together. Ouch. I told my girlfriend that if her friend wanted to go with her she had to pay the $400 for the ticket, and her friend agreed to. While my girlfriend and her friend went together and both had a great time, I felt betrayed since she chose her over me. While I know my girlfriend's BFF is a much bigger Taylor Swift fan than me, I was still excited to go since I've never been to a concert before, and I like to listen to some of Taylor Swift's songs. Like I said before, I also believe this would be a memory we could both remember together. Should I have done things differently and not given up my ticket so willingly? I think my teacher is a pedo. I have reason to suspect that my 9th grade teacher is a pedophile. We are more than halfway through the year and me and my buds have a rising suspicion that our teacher is more than just a teacher. We have talked and noticed that our teacher treats the girls in our class a lot differently. We always catch him looking at the under parts of the girls, and he is always right next to them. He always is so much nicer and we can see him pretty much just staring at them. This one girl in particular he is always staring at. For example, me and my friends were talking to him and this girl who had on tight jeans walked behind us to sharpen her pencil. As he was talking he stopped looking us in the eye, and he started to dead stare right behind us. Another example, he has an open pathway to get to his desk. Instead he walks through the girl's desk, and he goes to his side, and walks sidewalks, through facing the girls. I don't know if me and my friends are thinking about it too much, but we also think we are onto something. Someone please tell me their opinion on this whole situation. I thought I invented lesbianism. When I was a kid, grade 1-2, I think, I liked to draw a lot. I liked drawing girls a lot more than boys however, so basically every single one of my drawings would be a girl. Around that time, I was learning more about romance and boyfriends and girlfriends and relationships, all that jazz. At that point in my life I'm pretty sure I'd heard the word gay being thrown around a few times and very loosely knew what it meant but kinda pushed it to the back of my mind and didn't care about it. After all, I'd never seen a same-sex relationship before, so how could I know they exist, right? Anyways, with my knowledge of relationships I wanted to draw a few, but I hated drawing boys so much I had to think of something else. And then it hit me. You know that one photo where it's the monkey with the neuron activation? That was me, you guys. I instantly cooked up this drawing of two girls holding hands and blushing with hearts everywhere like it was light work. I was so proud of inventing lesbians that I drew a few more and it was beautiful. I didn't want anyone else stealing and taking credit for my glorious invention, so I made sure to keep my lesbians hidden from everyone and didn't show anybody. And you guys, I was creative. I'm talking schoolgirl lesbians, mermaid lesbians, princess lesbians, fairy lesbians, you name it. I probably it as lesbians. I know this post sounds like my entire childhood was just drawing lesbians, but on God it wasn't. I still drew some straight couples so no one would suspect anything, and I drew a lot of normal kid stuff like my favorite show characters and other things. Lesbians were like only 10 of my art portfolio. Now that I think about it, I really wish I'd shown somebody, because imagine some little ass kid waltzing up to you and being like, look what I created. And it's just girls kissing. I took a nap and she thought I was dead and called the police. I went fishing with 3 friends in my boat, and after half a day of fishing we decided to dock and go grab some lunch and hit the bathrooms. I got back to the dock before my friends, so I laid down on the dock next to my boat, crossed my legs and put my hands behind my head with my sunglasses on. Well, I woke up very early that day and I ended up dozing off quite quickly. Next thing I know, I'm waking up to what sounds like somebody on the phone with the police, describing someone that sounds eerily similar to me. She's describing my clothing and saying I'm laid out and unresponsive. Well, she can't see me open my eyes because of my sunglasses, so when I turn my head to look at her, she's basically standing right over me. She jumped and shouted, "Oh my God, I thought you were dead." I thought it was quite funny honestly, but right at that time one of my friends starts walking back. Now, I don't hang out with this guy anymore, for a few reasons, but he asks what's going on and I tell him, and she starts yelling at the lady telling her to mind her business and such. It was quite embarrassing, but I usually leave that part out when I tell the story, lol. I took my female friend for dinner when my girlfriend cancelled at the last minute. Now she wants to break up. I am 25M and have started to date my now GF 23F. We are together for 4 months but we know each other from school days. Here is the thing, I am feeling disconnected from her for the past week and I think it is my fault as my previous relationships ended badly. I got cheated on by both of my previous girlfriends. When we started dating I told her about all of this. So last week I wanted to take her out for a movie but she cancelled it last minute, and the last Sunday wanted to take her out for a dinner at a restaurant that she has been talking about. I informed and made the reservations for the dinner, but she again cancelled at the last minute, so I took my good friend instead. She is 24F. We had a good time. She posted it on her Instagram. I don't use social media and don't like taking pictures. My girlfriend freaked out and started accusing me of cheating on her. I have tried to talk to her, but she is adamant that I am cheating. I gave her my phone and access to all my accounts to check, but she said that I might have deleted everything. I told her that the only reason I took my female friend was because she cancelled last minute. She blew up and started shouting that I wanted to make her jealous by taking someone else for dinner. I left her house and don't know if I want to stay with her to make this work or just walk away. I watched a guy steal a foul ball, shamed him and got rewarded. I was on a work trip for onboarding in 2011, somewhere in North Jersey, Hoboken, and decided to check out a AAA baseball game by myself. First solo trip I'd taken since becoming a dad at 23. I had a $30 stipend, the tickets were cheap, and I was feeling that rare kind of peace where nobody needs you for a minute. I'm sitting behind home plate when a home run flies out to left field. A little girl is sitting there. It's heading right toward her. She reaches up, but a grown man standing nearby snatches it just before she can get it. He starts celebrating like he just hit the homer himself. Crowd starts booing. Deservedly. I stood up. Not because I was going to do anything crazy, but because that kind of thing sticks with you. At this park, if you caught a home run, you could redeem the ball for a free hot dog. So of course, I see this guy strolling toward the concession stand, prize in hand. I walk over and get in line right behind him. No yelling. I just leaned in and said, calm as anything, "That's really cool of you to redeem that hot dog for the little girl." He didn't say a word, just kind of froze. I'm 6 feet 5 inches, and I didn't touch him, didn't threaten him, didn't need to. Security noticed us talking and told me to walk away or I'd be kicked out. Fair enough. Before I left, I ordered 4 hot dogs. They were buy one get one, plus I was still putting work on that stipend. Not trying to be a martyr here. Security let me bring the hot dogs to the girl and her mom. She smiled. He saw. The people around us clapped. It wasn't a packed stadium, but it was loud enough to feel good. A couple innings later, 4 security guards walk to the end of my row. One of them starts walking toward me and I think, here we go, I'm out. But he hands me 2 free tickets to the next night's game. Says thank you for handling it right. Whole section claps again. Like a slow burn movie moment I didn't see coming. That little girl might not remember it, or maybe it just becomes this fuzzy memory of something kind, but I think her mom will remember. I know I will. TLDR. At a minor league game on a work trip, I saw a grown man snatch a home run ball from a little girl so he could get a free hot dog. I followed him, shamed him politely, bought the girl and her mom 4 hot dogs, and got a standing O and free tickets from security. Best $30 stipend I ever spent. If your boss invites you to one of their family members' funeral, don't go. I 25M was invited to a funeral by my boss 2 days ago. I've worked for her for almost 6 years, and we are acquaintances even outside of work. So when her father died and she invited me to the gathering at her place, I felt like I couldn't say no. I woke up today and realized I didn't want to go. I'm terrible at talking to grieving people, but I forced myself to be there. I don't know anyone here, and everyone is in their 50s. I pretty much don't exist. My boss has come to see me a few times but I still feel out of place. Now I'm on my phone until I feel it's been long enough so I can leave. My gut told me to stay home. I should have listened. I'm never going to a funeral in these circumstances unless someone comes with me. Learn from my mistakes. 25 minutes to go. Edit. I take it back. 1 hour of boredom and feeling like I don't belong for 10 minutes of bonding. My boss showed me a video of her dad teaching a class. As she did, she poured herself to me. She talked about her dad and how important he was to her. She has so much love for him, and it touched me. I'm kind of teary-eyed. I'm glad I was here because I think she needed that 10 minutes of sharing. I'm dealing with depression and I always try to hide it from my 3-year-old son. Today I couldn't hide it and I am so proud of his reaction. Had a rough morning this morning. Dealing with depression. I'm in therapy for it and taking medication. So I'm on the road to recovery, but I still have tough days. This morning I had a breakdown. I was being really down on myself and had a lot of self-disgust, but my son needed a wipe for his runny nose. So I went to get him one and accidentally spilled something on the way. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. I collapsed on the floor and started sobbing. Normally I try my best to do my crying out of my son's view. I don't want him to worry about his dad. I want to be a rock for him, strong and stable. But in this moment I couldn't help it. But when my son noticed me crying I couldn't have been prouder. He came up to me and said, "Why are you crying, Daddy?" And I said through my sobbing, "I don't know." He gave me as big of a hug as his little arms could and he said, "It's okay, Daddy." He ran over to his wipes and brought them over to me and tried to dry my eyes. He asked me to blow my nose. I did. He grabbed the tissue for me and said, "It's okay. I throw that away for you, Daddy." I grabbed him and gave him the biggest squeeze. He said, "You better now?" And I said, "I'm better now. I'm so lucky." Edit. Thank you all for your support. red heart emoji, hugging face emoji, hugging face emoji. I wasn't expecting all this attention, so again thank you all and I will promise to be strong. Red heart emoji, flexed biceps emoji, flexed biceps emoji. Meet me at the TGI Fridays. I was adopted in utero. My adoptive parents took me home when I was a few days old, and my adoptive mom did an amazing job of making sure I always both knew I was adopted and that I was loved. She said that when I was 18, I'd get an envelope with my biological parents' information, as per their agreement. Throughout high school I worked at TGI Friday as a hostess. I loved it, had tons of friends that were servers and busboys. I had a robust social life. When I turned 18 we had my birthday party there and my adoptive parents gave me the envelope. I was shocked to learn that my biological parents went to high school just a few towns over. I was a senior in high school, so the next week, back at school, I did a quick search for my bio parents and quickly located them. They were no longer together, having been a high school couple that got into trouble. My biological dad was happy to meet at TGI Fridays, at my suggestion. What can I say? I loved the spin dip and the place felt safe. Turns out, a few years back he moved to the same town as me, just a coincidence. I walk in, I'm told he's already seated in the bar. I make my way back there and sit down. He looks familiar, probably because I've just been looking at his high school picture for the last week. He stares at me, shocked. I comment that I know I look a lot like my mother. It's not that, he says. It's that he's been eating at this TGI Fridays for years. I've sat him many times, and he always thought I reminded him of the girl he dated in high school. My friend's perfect relationship was a full-on FBI operation. So, my best friend, Matt, has always been a hopeless romantic. The kind of guy who believes in soulmates, sends good morning texts unironically, and probably watched The Notebook too many times. A few months ago, he met this girl, Lisa, on a dating app. She was perfect. Too perfect. Gorgeous, funny, into the same weird indie bands as him. And get this, she actually laughed at his terrible puns. Within weeks, they were inseparable. Lisa was always around, but something felt off. She never let him take pictures of her. She never talked about her job, just said she was in government work. And she always paid in cash. One night, we were at a bar, and Matt stepped away to take a call. Lisa, left alone with me, leaned in and said, "You seem like a good friend. Make sure Matt stays out of trouble." What? Then, 2 days later, she just vanished. Poof. Phone disconnected. Apartment emptied out. Matt was devastated, thought she ghosted him. He spiraled hard. Then, about a month later, we were watching the news. And there she was. Lisa. Except her real name was Special Agent Lauren Carter, and she was testifying in some huge undercover sting involving a money laundering ring. Matt had been dating an FBI agent working a case. And the best part? He wasn't even the target, she was just using him as a cover story. To this day, he refuses to use dating apps. My sister saved a kid's life and almost got expelled for it. When my sister was in high school, she was the quiet, straight A type. Never got in trouble, never broke the rules. The kind of student teachers trusted to carry a hall pass without supervision. One day, she was in the cafeteria when she noticed a kid maybe 14 choking at a nearby table. His friends were freaking out, uselessly slapping his back, while everyone else just watched. Without hesitating, my sister ran over, wrapped her arms around him, and did the Heimlich. On the third try, a chunk of food flew out of his mouth, and the kid started breathing again. The cafeteria erupted. She thought that was the end of it until she got called to the principal's office later that day. Turns out, the school had a strict no-touching policy. She was told she had violated school rules and was this close to getting suspended. The only reason she didn't? The kid's mom stormed into the school the next day, absolutely furious that they were punishing the person who saved her son's life. They backed off, but she still got a warning. To this day, my sister jokes that the one time she broke the rules was to literally stop someone from dying. My BF permanently brain damaged someone and didn't go to jail. When my BF was in high school about 16, he was friends with a Mexican guy, we'll call him Jay. One day after school they were walking home and a neo-Nazi freak ran up and hit Jay in the head with a brick, knocking him out, then started punching him while he was on the ground. My BF picked up the brick and smashed it over the back of the neo-Nazi's head, knocking him unconscious. He called an ambulance and police and my BF was taken into custody and the others to the hospital. Jay woke up and had about 35 stitches on his head, but the neo-Nazi guy was in a coma for a couple months because the brick apparently hit him in just the right spot. It caused permanent damage. The family of the Nazi took my BF to court and tried to press charges on him, but Jay's parents were both personal injury attorneys and were able to plead his case and he was let go with no charges. Jay still comes over from time to time for dinners about 15 years later. Just wanted to share a weird story from my BF's past that I still think about and how, while I don't condone violence, He is a hero in my mind. My boyfriend turned me bi. Reading through the comments made me realize I screwed up the title. It should probably be my boyfriend made me realize I was bi. I 24F thought I was a lesbian until I met my boyfriend 20 meters. My whole life until last year, I've only dated women, and I get grossed out thinking of myself with a guy. My boyfriend and I met at an event we both volunteered for, and we became friends. We got closer, and I started thinking about him more and more. When I realized that I developed feelings for him, it terrified me. My whole life, I'd thought I was a lesbian. And then I developed feelings for a guy. Everything I knew was wrong. I tried distancing myself from him in hopes the feelings would go away, but they didn't. I kept thinking about him, and I eventually gave in and asked him out. Once I convinced him that I wasn't joking, he accepted, and we started dating. Dating him wasn't that different than dating a girl. The sex was so weird, but he was so accommodating. The first couple of times, he made sure I was comfortable and he was so careful and gentle. The thought of me with any other guy still grosses me out, but being with my boyfriend makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. I have no idea why he's the only guy I like, but the year we've been together has been probably the best year of my life. He gets me, and he gives the best hugs. We live together, and he's an amazing roommate and an amazing boyfriend. Spelling. My fiancé wants us to invite my nemesis to our wedding. My fiancé and I are planning our destination wedding in a beautiful but far away location. We know this means fewer people will be able to come, and honestly, we're okay with that. Here's the problem. My nemesis is the wife of my fiancé's best friend. I don't use the term nemesis lightly. This woman has made it her personal mission to ruin every event we've both attended. She always finds a way to make herself the center of attention. For context, I was not invited to their wedding for the same reasons, although their wedding was local. My fiancé insists that because of the distance, we have to invite couples together, meaning my nemesis would be on the guest list. He's worried that if we exclude her, his best friend won't come. I, on the other hand, categorically do not want this woman at my wedding. I already know exactly how this will go. She will pull some kind of dramatic stunt for attention or potentially try to ruin my wedding day because she's just that kind of person. Knowing her, she'd probably turn up wearing white or red. It's a very intimate wedding, roughly 50-60 guests, so not exactly a big crowd for her to disappear into. I feel like I'm being backed into a corner here. If I don't invite her, we risk the best friend not attending one of the most important days of my fiancé's life. If I do invite her, I'll be spending my wedding day waiting for her to do something unhinged. What do I do in this situation? I was thinking to hire a security guard in case she pulls anything and they can quickly escort her out the building, but I don't know if that's too far. My girlfriend confessed to cheating on me, so I lied and told her I cheated on her. My 25 meters girlfriend 26 confessed to cheating on me last night, so I told her I've been cheating the whole time we've been together. I had my suspicions that she's been cheating as she's been staying out late and just acting strange in general. Well, when she made her big announcement, I replied by saying I've been cheating on her for the entirety of our relationship, which isn't true. I told her I've been sleeping with one other woman consistently, and this drove her absolutely insane, like I genuinely thought she was going to do someone rash, like slash my tires or something. But no. She just screamed at me and demanded to know who she was. She went on to say she only cheated once and she was completely inebriated when it happened, as if that someone absolves her of any wrongdoing. The audacity. Well, anyways, I broke up with her and threw her out of my house. I then proceeded to invite the boys over for some barbecue. All in all, it was a hilarious experience. I know it's not a crazy story, but I thought it was funny enough to share. My girlfriend told me she was pregnant, so I had arranged to move all her stuff out behind her back. Small update. Part 1. It's been a week since I dumped Katie at her parents' house. My boys cleaned out my home and brought everything of Katie's to her parents. But because I didn't have time to mark everything that was Katie's, the boys didn't take everything that belonged to her. And they even took some things of mine. So I called her sister to arrange a meeting to exchange our belongings. The sister agreed under one condition: a sit down with Katie to hear her out. I would have just left everything there, but the tablet had some pretty important work stuff, so I agreed to hear Katie out. But I made it very clear that there was no chance of us getting back together. Katie was a shadow of her former self. She started with small talk, but I quickly told her I wasn't there for that. She wanted to apologize. Here is where I almost lost it. I wanted to yell at her for destroying our relationship. I wanted to yell that I can't accept a simple apology for destroying my trust. But I didn't yell. I was quiet. I didn't accept the apology. I also didn't reject the apology. I just said nothing. She asked why. I never asked why she did it. I said there was nothing she could say to justify what she did, so it didn't matter which excuse she came up with. She said she really thought the child was mine because we weren't using protection vasectomy with yearly checkups, and she was hoping that I would change my mind about being child-free as soon as I saw that she was pregnant. I told her that was a very dumb assumption and she clearly did not use any protection with her affair partner. She told me she thought it was unfair of me to expose the affair to her family. I didn't have to do that. My response was, that's right, I didn't have to. I chose to, just like you chose to cheat on me, just like KP chose to cheat on his wife. These are just the consequences of those choices. She asked me if we still had a chance if she aborted the baby. I told her keeping or aborting the baby wouldn't change her betrayal. She can do what she wants. We are not getting back together. I was done. I heard her out. She didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. So I got up and took my stuff and was about to leave when she said, I love you. My response was, no, you don't. If you loved me, you would never have betrayed and hurt me like you did. I loved you, but you destroyed that too with that. I left, and I could hear her sobbing. I've also learned that the affair partner is kicked out of his house. They are divorcing. He ended it with Katie because he blames her for ruining his life. I don't know what Katie is going to do with the baby, but it's not my problem. My husband came back from deployment. Now he's racist. Update. To look for my previous post, just search up the title. Before starting this post, I want to thank the veterans who sent me messages, giving me helpful and transparent advice. Thank you so much for your service. Bless your souls. I would also like to address, however, the racism, the mean comments, and derogatory statements commented on my post. Most of the people commenting on my post don't know anything about me or my husband's life. Outside of this post I've made, I posted one struggle in our marriage and suddenly I'm a tramp, a whore, a psychopath, a bitch, and ungrateful. I've stood by my husband's side since we're teens. Since we lived in a trailer park. I was there for him after basic, when his father passed, when his leg was amputated, when he was mean and a shell of himself. I stood by him through it all, and didn't ask anything of him other than coming home alive. My husband is also such a great man. I count my blessings how lucky I am. He's absolutely amazing with our 2 young kids, and he has such a contagious smile. He lights up every room he walks into, and for a while I thought I lost that. When he came home from deployment in 2012 out in the Middle East, he was such a hateful and sad person, I hardly even recognized him, and in 2018 his leg was blown to bits and he spiraled even further, refusing to eat, yelling at me constantly, threatening to take his own life. We were truly going through it. However, when we found out we were pregnant with our oldest daughter, he wanted to turn our life around. He started going to physical therapy, he started using his Protestic on the regular, he got off his meds, and he went to community college paid for entirely through the military. I'm almost crying now because of the man my husband's become, so I won't allow people who know nothing about our lives to come on here and smear both of us. We've both worked through some hard things, and we're still standing. Now, my husband and I talked last night after putting the kids to bed and I told him straight up that he was setting a bad example for the kids. I didn't want them to grow up and hate people who are innocent to the horrors across the globe, and that at the end of the day, these people aren't the people he fought. He said that in his mind he kind of knew that. But he said that a bigger part of him was angry that these people got to live so carefree. It made him angry. We talked about a lot that night, and he said that he'd be willing to do couples therapy, and that singular therapy would make him feel like I thought he was crazy. I am so unbelievably proud of my husband for being able to express his feelings clearly. I feel like this is a big step for us. On another note, thank you to all the positive and helpful comments I've received. I'll update or perhaps post more about life as a military spouse while working to spread awareness. Thank you so much. My husband is a human gas chamber. So, about 3 weeks ago I flew to South Korea for a vacation with friends who live there. My husband didn't want to go and said he'd be fine staying home and watching the house and dog. I trusted him because he's a 40-year-old adult man and assumed he'd be able to feed himself like a sane person despite him possessing the cooking ability of a cactus. I was wrong. I should have dragged him and the dog along with me to another country. What my husband decided to do during his 3 weeks without me was absurd. I would have been happier if he'd cheated on me instead, because what he did was order nothing but Taco Bell through DoorDash after he somehow broke my stove by cooking an entire 15-pound bag of red lentils all at once. Then he didn't bother to get a bowl for his lentils, he just ate them straight from the pot and stuffed the pot into the fridge and broke one of the shelves inside it. Now realizing his mistake, he decided to order nothing but terrible tacos for the remaining 2 weeks while getting high on medical marijuana. Also, for some reason he bought a bunch of honeycombs from one of our friend's fathers and decided those made a good snack and has eaten nothing but beeswax and honey for the last few days because he's some kind of weird alien in a human disguise. Apparently honeycombs give you gas, and lentils give you gas, and Taco Bell gives you gas. So now it's today, and I'm awoken by what sounds like someone revving a motorcycle in my bedroom, followed by the stench of the fiery pits of hell itself. It's 5:30 in the morning. He gets up and goes to use the toilet as I'm opening the windows in a poor attempt to ventilate the house, but it's too late. He doesn't even have a solid poop. It's just 10 minutes of gas. Like 20 seconds of non-stop farts followed by a huge gasp of air and then another 20 seconds of gas. By this time, the dog has hidden under my couch because it doesn't know what those loud honking noises are and fears for its safety. I consider joining it, but continue to open every window in my house. It's 62 degrees out and windy. The wind just blows the fart smell around the house. My husband has left the bathroom and has walked upstairs. It sounds like there's a small two-stroke engine in his pants. I can't take it anymore and scream that I'm going to get breakfast at the diner and leave him. I bring the dog with me because the dog follows me out of the house because it also doesn't want to be here right now. So now I'm at the diner waiting for my husband to degas himself while the dog sits underneath the table next to me wearing a pink leash kid harness that my friends bought for me as a gag gift that has my name and emotional support human on it that the waitress thought was some kind of a joke. This is the start of my morning. I hope it's not as stinky as yours. My husband's work proposed to him. My husband has a work wife. They are friends who go out to lunch often and tease each other and talk about some personal things. She brings him homemade lunches sometimes and he's brought her leftover desserts that I made. It didn't bother me at first, but it feels like she has a connection to him that I don't. To make matters worse, she work proposed to him to make their work relationship work official. She playfully feels like he's not a real work husband if they don't have an actual work wedding. He thinks it's hilarious, and their manager said it's a fine excuse to throw a party out of their pizza party funds. They throw celebratory parties somewhat often when they ship a product or land a big client. The parties are usually a few grand in food and drinks and entertainment. His company is a dream come true, but I think him and his friend are taking this too far. He was planning on wearing his normal work clothes to the wedding, but there's rumors she's going to wear her wedding dress from her failed marriage. She's been divorced for 5 years. What should I do? I told him this is ridiculous, but he keeps talking me down. I'm considering showing up to respectfully voice my concerns during the if anyone has objections part of the ceremony. His co-workers know me from the last Christmas party and the time I had to bring him a clean pair of pants, so I know they'd let me into the party. It's in the middle of the day, so I'd need to take time off work, but if I can stop their marriage, maybe I can save mine. My mother slept with my boyfriend. I 26F have been dating 30 meters for 7 months. Let's call him Devin. I took Devin with me to my family reunion this year. It was held at a group of cabins at a lake in northern Georgia. We have family spread out across the U.S. and every 2 years we pick a location and congregate for the weekend. I did not expect to walk in on this kind of congregation though. Devin had met my mother 47F once before, at dinner, along with my brother and sister that are both a few years younger than me. Our parents divorced several years ago and my father is busy drinking himself dead with his new girlfriend, so he did not attend dinner or the reunion. I did not pick up on any weird vibes or stolen glances at dinner, and mother and I have some boundaries already about dating. She and I are only 21 years apart, both fit and attractive. I like guys older than me and she likes guys younger than her. Mother currently has a boyfriend, Frank, 41 meters. They've been together for about 1.5 years. Frank did not attend the family reunion. So during the reunion, Devin has been distant from me. He found literally anything else to do than have a connection with me all weekend. Before the big meal on Saturday, he told me he didn't find me very attractive. He said I'm too tall, not fit enough. He doesn't like that I have a child 3 meters, and I smoke too much weed. I know he's grasping at straws. I am a tall woman at 5 feet 11 inches, but I only weigh 150 pounds. And I don't work out excessively, but I am strong. My son is really cool, and I have to baby daddy to have drama with. Devin should have said something about that a long time ago, right? And for the weed, I only smoke on special occasions. Anyway, we had a talk and it turned into an argument and Devin stormed out. We were staying in a room in one of the cabins. He stormed out and, apparently, into the RV where my mother was staying. I cried a lot and finally composed myself to go talk with my mom like girls do in a breakup, right? I opened the RV door and took one step up. I look to my left where I see them both sprawled out on the bed, breathing heavy and freshly orgasmed. They see me and do the oh shit jump and cover. I said nothing, just walked over and slapped my mother across the face and walked back out. Walking back towards the cabin, I see cars arriving with more family members and food to prepare for the final family day feast. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do now. Do I tell my family? Do I tell her boyfriend? Do I act like nothing happened until after the party? How can I ever trust my mother again? How can I rebuild my self-esteem after a hit like that? TLDR, my mother slept with my boyfriend during a family reunion. My partner cheated and I lost everything. I 24F and my ex-cell 27M had been together for 6.5 years and had started dating when I was an undergrad. He moved with me to a new city for my graduate degree where we adopted 2 cats and got engaged January of 23. He had met B20F at work and we all became close friends. We let her stay with us for a week when she needed to escape her ex and helped her move into her new place. In June, L started a massive argument right before we went on vacation and broke the news that he thought he was poly and wanted to be able to explore this, or he thought he might have to leave me at some point. I'm extremely monogamous and this made me very uncomfortable, but to save my relationship I agreed to try things out casually with B, because I'm bi. And I trusted her enough to be vulnerable. My one rule was that nothing sexual should happen with her while the other wasn't there. Fast forward several weeks and he is spending a ton of time with her when I'm not around, including when I'm out of town with friends. When I got back, my anxiety that something had happened was overwhelming and I had a breakdown asking if he had cheated while I was gone. He blew up saying he was hurt, and barely spoke to me for a week. One night I couldn't sleep and went through his phone, for which I had standing permission to do, and found out he had sexted her multiple times while I was in the room, which broke all my rules. I confronted him with the evidence and instead of trying to work it out he said he was moving out. This moving out process took a month. After attempting to remain friends, B blew up at me. B threatened me, told me I was a horrible person, that I was pathetic, and mocked me on social media before blocking me. L stayed living in our apartment, sleeping in my bed, and spending time with her even when I asked him not to. Finally, after a month of him abusing my generosity and emotionally destroying me, he moved out. I helped him, even though B was there and even though I was badly injured. When I dropped by his new place a few days later with stuff he needed, she was there. He told me never to come back to his apartment and said he wanted to go no contact. I'm broken. I'm living in an apartment I can afford with 2 cats that don't understand why their dad won't come home. I lost my best friend and the person I was planning on spending the rest of my life with, and I'm barely coping. I went on a date with a nice guy but I'm terrified to open up to anyone because I don't feel comfortable being vulnerable, as the last 2 times went so poorly and damaged my mental health so badly. I barely eat because I can't afford groceries, but I can't move because my cats and I need to stay close to work for my graduate program. I lost a family through this, and I'm not sure how much more I can take. Added 1. There's some concern about ages. I was 18 when we started dating. I turned 25 in 2 months. No pedophilia here, friends. Added 2. I understand I was naive. I should have stood up for myself. I didn't know what I was doing. This was my first major relationship. I am getting help. I never said I wasn't learning from this. I likely won't see your horrible comments, but I hope you feel better from posting them. Thank you to everyone who has been kind. I didn't ask for anything. I was just trying to get a horrible situation off my chest. My puppy was expensive. Okay, now, when I went to Kenya I bought my dog for £20 and she was only 8 weeks old. This was the first red flag cause I felt off about it. Puppies should not be pulled from their mamas so early and I firmly get why. Her first day she had sheer panic in her eyes as she realized she didn't smell her mother near her anymore and began crying like someone close to her died. I wanted to take her back but I was already 3 hours away. You know, buying her was cheap, but I soon learned how expensive she was. She didn't eat normal dog food, she would not touch her dog treats, she hated them. I would give her some bread, she would take a bite and not touch the rest. It was actually amazing to watch a dog be picky, crying face emoji. She would eat Spanish omelet but when I give her normal wouldn't finish it. If her food was in season, she wouldn't eat it. She loved hibiscus tea but hated water and would love milk. She hated anything rice. I would give her diff varieties to see what she actually liked. She actually didn't mind first. Second time I gave her beans, she got tired of it and walked away. She began crying every night for her mother. I returned her after my second month with her and didn't want my money back. I paid for her feeding for 5 months after without fail but stopped shortly after. She would challenge me. Literally, and the minute I would buckle down and be gentle she would also mirror me and be gentle. I learned from watching her watching me. The day I returned her I didn't want to keep having her suffer without her mom or siblings, plus I felt she was causing trouble to return. She came to me in a dream and her mother thanked me. Then like a human slapped a big kiss on my cheeks. TBH, I woke up baffled and like my cheeks were wet but I smiled. My sister died during postpartum and I'm a complete wreck. My 28-year-old sister gave birth to her first daughter 2 weeks ago. I 17F was in the hospital together with my parents and her husband. The birth went pretty smooth, although she was screaming so loud. I was so excited to be an auntie and holding my newborn niece in my arms was a precious moment. Everything seemed fine afterwards. My sister came home about 3 days later and she and her husband stayed with me and my parents as they needed help to take care of the baby. But 2 days after she came home, she was experiencing exhaustion, pain in her body, and she constantly fainting. She kept insisting that she was fine, but our mother said that fainting is not fine and brought her back to the hospital, where they discovered an infection or internal bleeding or both somewhere in her body, and they were unable to treat it in time despite giving her mounds of antibiotics before she passed away 2 days later. A week has passed since, and 3 days since the funeral. I can't stop crying and thinking that if the doctors had noticed that something was wrong, my sister could still be alive. I loved my sister to death. She was my role model growing up. Now I lost her forever and only have my niece, who is completely unaware of what's going on. I'm sad, and angry, and upset, and I miss my big sister so freaking much. I can't talk about this with my friends, and she was my only sibling. My parents aren't helping much as they're also grieving, so I don't know what I'm expecting to get from here, but I'm just a complete freaking wreck. My sister hooked up with my fiancé. My whole family cut her off and she came crawling back after they lost everything. I never saw it coming. My sister, my own flesh and blood, betraying me in the worst possible way. I had been with my fiancé for years, planning our future together, when I found out about their affair. I was devastated, heartbroken, and couldn't believe that she would do something like this to me. My family was just as shocked and hurt as I was. They couldn't believe that my sister would stoop so low, and they immediately cut her off. She was no longer welcome in our home or in our lives. My fiancé and I tried to move on, but the betrayal was too much and our relationship eventually ended. I thought that was the last I would hear from my sister, but I was wrong. After years of estrangement, she came crawling back. She had lost everything and had nowhere else to turn. She begged for my forgiveness and asked for a second chance. I didn't know what to do. On one hand, I wanted to hold on to my anger and hurt. I didn't want to let her back into my life after what she had done. But on the other hand, I knew that forgiveness was the right thing to do. I couldn't hold on to my anger forever, and I didn't want to carry around the weight of resentment. In the end, I decided to forgive her. It wasn't easy, but I knew it was the right thing to do. We started rebuilding our relationship, slowly but surely. It wasn't the same as it was before, but it was a start. And I was grateful for the opportunity to have my sister back in my life, even if it was under different circumstances. The whole experience taught me the importance of forgiveness and the power of second chances. It reminded me that even when someone hurts us, they are still worthy of love and compassion. And it showed me that even in the darkest moments, there is always a chance for healing and reconciliation. Part 2. My sister hooked up with my fiancé C3A9. My C3A9. My also thank you guys for the ideas, they worked. My unofficial first date with my husband. My 35F husband 30 meters. And I have been together for 5 years. We have a funny story on how we met. I'm a doctor and my husband was a walk-in. He had a plantar wart on the bottom of his foot. The whole interaction was only around 5 minutes. I pared some dead skin before freezing the wart, then I sent him on his way. And that was the last I saw him until we matched on a dating app 6 months later. I had a feeling he looked familiar, but I couldn't place it until he said something. That's an inside joke between us. We called it our unofficial first date. Honestly, I think I fell in love on our actual first date. My husband is so awesome. He's so funny and romantic. He's so supportive and caring. Sometimes, I get called in at night and he always gets me to text him when I get there, so he knows I made it safely. Whenever I get called in, I try so hard to not wake him up since he has to get up early. He's a construction worker, but the occasional time I do, he always seems happy that he gets to see me before I go. And I'll always remember when he proposed. I couldn't believe he actually proposed and I hesitated for a second. I guess he took my silence as a no because he started standing up and apologizing. I quickly said yes and hugged him. In short, I love my husband so much. My wife got pregnant with another man's kid, and thinks I don't know about it. Me and my wife have been together for more or less around 5 years. I had met her at work. She was the manager and I was one of the line cooks working in the back kitchen. I had my suspicions when we first had our son. We decided that it was best I become a stay-at-home dad while she worked, as she had made so much more money than I did as she was a general manager. First she started saying things like she had to go to work parties as it was mandatory, or she'd be fired, or she was staying late at work because people had called off and it was busy. One day she had come on to me being very flirty and persuading me to have sex with her. Now that I look back, I think she was already pregnant at this point and wanted it to look like I had gotten her knocked up. Of course, like any man would, I fucked her and came inside. About a month later she was telling me she was pregnant. I was cool with it, why not? When it came down to having our second son, I noticed that about a year into it, he looked nothing like me or my wife. Keep in mind we are both white. I have blonde hair and brown eyes. My skin is super pale and my wife is just almost the same. This kid, the more he grew, was really dark-skinned Mexican hair and looked like one of the guys you'd see from the Mexican Revolution with the big old mustaches. I mean, when I say Mexican, he looked like the typical stereotype of one. I'm thinking about getting a DNA test and leaving her because there's no way it's mine. LMK if you guys want a part 2. My wife whooshed when a woman was thirsty for her. My wife and I used to be vendors at local anime pop culture video game conventions around our province. We often stayed with friends at different cities we visited as this gave us a chance to catch up and have fun after each day. After one convention, we went out to karaoke with our friends to unwind. It was a small local dive bar where most of the patrons were regulars and new singers for karaoke are cheered heartily. My wife was in her late 30s and despite my insistence of her beauty starting to feel a little self-conscious about her looks and age. She comes from the Philippines and also lived in Taiwan where karaoke was a common pastime, so she is actually a really talented as a singer. She sang a song or two to the cheers of the crowd and one woman bought her a drink as congratulations for a wonderful song. Later, that same woman asked my wife to duet a couple of songs. My wife was so happy that someone other than just close friends wanted to hear her sing and was so supportive. The woman eventually joined our table and sat beside my wife opposite me and chatted up my wife for the rest of the night. Soon, when we're all ready to leave, the woman asks if my wife is staying with friends or needs a room seeing as we are from out of town. Hint, hint. My wife says we already booked a place to stay but thanks anyways and maybe we can do karaoke again soon because it was so fun. We leave back to our Airbnb, and as soon as we were in the door I mentioned how cruel my wife was to break that poor lesbian's heart. Huh? What do you mean? She was just being friendly. I laid it out to my wife that the woman bought drinks, sang duets, then sat beside her, and was touchy-feely for the rest of the evening. She was hitting on my wife all night, and my wife was oblivious. I watched as all the pieces finally started to fall into place in my wife's mind. OMG. What? Why didn't you tell me sooner? My wife was both hilariously embarrassed and flattered that another woman was attracted to her in such a way. To this day I still tease her about the one that got away. Nyx tears through a cyberpunk dystopia on a gritty, tech-charged mission. Shattered Neon Wake Chapter 1 Gallery of Chaos. The bar pulses with a raw, untamed energy, a cacophony of clashing metal, guttural laughs, and the hiss of sparking circuits. The space is a gutted shell of its former glory. Cracked marble floors peek through layers of grime, and the skeletal remains of ornate pillars lean drunkenly against walls tagged with glowing graffiti. Neon tubes stutter overhead, bathing the room in a sickly mix of pink and green, while the air hums with the whine of overworked tech and the stench of burnt wiring. At a table near the entrance, a hulking cyborg raider, his left arm a patchwork of rusted plates and exposed pistons, slams a dented tankard onto the wood, sloshing a glowing amber liquid that sizzles faintly on contact. He roars at a wiry scavenger across from him, demanding payment for a scavenged plasma coil, his optic implant flaring red with each bellow. The scavenger, twitchy and pale, fumbles with a satchel of scavenged creds, his mechanical hand clicking nervously as it sorts the pile. In the corner, a bounty hunter lounges against a wall, her trench coat patched with scavenged Kevlar, a plasma-scarred machete resting across her knees. She sharpens it with a whetstone, the rhythmic scrape cutting through the din, her single glowing eye blue and unblinking scanning the room for her next mark. A trio of junkers huddle nearby, their faces smudged with oil, passing a flickering hollow cube between them. It projects a grainy image of a derelict ship, their whispers laced with greed as they plot a raid. Across the bar, a glitchy service droid, its torso cracked open, wires spilling like guts, lurches between tables, delivering trays of glowing drinks. One patron, a gaunt figure with a shaved head and a neural jack sparking at the temple, grabs a glass and plugs a thin cable from his skull into the liquid, his eyes rolling back as he mainlines the cold-laced brew. Another raider, half his face replaced with a crude metal plate, arm wrestles a rival, their cybernetic limbs grinding and popping, sparks flying as a small crowd bets scraps of tech on the outcome. The bar's centerpiece, a long counter of warped steel, bears the scars of countless fights, burn marks, dents, and a faint etching of some pre-disaster logo, now illegible. Behind it, a cyborg barkeep with a mechanical claw for a hand pours drinks from a jury-rigged still, the liquid glowing faintly as it sloshes into mismatched cups. Amid the chaos, Nyx sits alone at the counter's far end, her black leather gleaming, purple hair spilling over one shoulder, neon violet lines pulsing across her skin, eyes locked on a glowing drink. Pregnant XGF cheated on me. She F36 left me. I'm 37 in June because I had sent a joke text to someone asking them for their $100 pussy inside joke from years ago and said it was cheating. I thought for a while and I did agree it was cheating. I apologized and said it meant no harm and if the roles were reversed I would be upset but not leave them. She left 2 days later. She called me last night, 4th of October, and told me she's 28 weeks pregnant, and the baby is her ex's. We talked for a good 20 minutes before it clicked in my head that we were together at that time frame. I said, wait, why did you call me to say you cheated on me? She said I didn't. I said please do some first grade math. and hung up. I woke up to a text saying I'm sorry. I'm a piece of shit. Haven't been cheated on in 2 decades and I'm sitting at a bar beside myself. How is your Saturday going? Thanks for all your concerns. I love this woman for so long it's just hard for me to move on. I will. It's just hard. Too, I am in decent shape. I go to the gym regularly. I am financially stable and do not struggle with money. Thanks for the concern. Some of your comments are vile. Retired FBI confession. I used to work in a medical procedures unit in a hospital in the PNW. Patients would undergo endoscopic exams, which they were sedated for. We had an elderly gentleman patient this case, and while we waited for the doctor to arrive we engaged in friendly chit-chat, nothing out of the ordinary. When the doc came in, he immediately asked us if the patient told us his history. I started rattling off the medical reasons why he was having the procedure and the doc cut me off saying no, his past work history as an undercover FBI mob agent. Naturally my reaction was, oh no. That must have been interesting, dealing with those mob guys. The patient's response has haunted me to this day. His exact words: "Those guys weren't as bad as those motherfucking politicians." He then went on to tell a story about how he was head of security for a congressional event in the 80s. He said another agent handed him the phone saying, "Congressman wants to speak with you." The conversation went as follows: "Congressman, will there be women there?" Agent: "Not sure what you mean, but yes, women are here." Congressman: "When I arrive I want one sent to my room. No older than 13. Right after he said that, the CRNA pushed the meds and he passed out. We all just stood there in silence while he underwent the procedure. What the fuck did he just tell us? Edit. Apparently people are getting hung up on the use of the term informant, so I removed it, for clarity, which I thought might have been deduced. This old man was not a mob informant in the sense of being a snitch in the mob. He was a retired FBI agent who worked undercover with the mob at one point. In a completely separate point in time, he claimed to have been asked by a congressman for a 13-year-old girl. This man had no reason to lie. He didn't even bring it up. The sergeant did. Edit. To the story is 100 true as it happened. Could the old man be lying? Yes, of course. Do I think he was? No. The procedure was an EGD or endoscopy. It was a surgeon doing post-operative surveillance, not a gastroenterologist. You naysayers need to understand that elite pedophile rings exist and have existed for a very long time. People taking this as a push for a political worldview are wrong. I don't have a political affiliation. For everyone claiming the FBI doesn't work security or doesn't work with Congress, you are assuming you know what capacity this guy was working at every point of his career? Text the 20 FBI 20 police 20 is 20 tasked, certain 20 laws 20 and 20 administrative 20 regulations. Duties and responsibilities. The FBI police may be occasionally deployed to significant national security events, such as presidential inaugurations, the Super Bowl, conferences of world leaders as well as major political party conferences. Sil gave yourself an enema with coffee. My Sil is not smart, to put it kindly. She has done some very idiotic things during the course of my husband and my relationship, but this takes the freaking cake. Sil is incredibly gullible and believes literally anything she reads on the internet. Well, she read that if you give yourself an enema with coffee it can help cleanse toxins from your body. Cue collective eye roll. Bill comes home one day to a scary looking mess in the bathroom, what appears to be blood-soaked pads, towels, etc. Bill freaks out and immediately begins asking Sil what happened and if she's okay. Sil gets very cagey and avoidant of his questions. Bill continues panicking, thinking something is incredibly wrong and Sil needs to go to the ER. Finally, Bill gets her to spill. After reading on the internet that it is healthy and beneficial to give yourself an enema with coffee, she decided to try it. Only she missed one very important step in letting your coffee cool down first before you try to insert it into your asshole. So Sil gave herself an unsuccessful enema with hot coffee and literally burned her rectum. She refused to go to the doctor out of embarrassment. This is my favorite story that I have ever had the pleasure of hearing in my life, and now it gets to grace Reddit as well. Edited to add Bill in this post as Sil's husband. Sorry for the confusion, I should have written that part better. Sil reluctantly relayed this story to my husband, her brother, at great urging from her husband. Edit. This happened months ago and as far as I know Sil has not suffered any side effects from this. We are no longer on speaking terms due to how she decided to treat my husband, my mother-in-law, her mother, and myself. It was not actually blood on the towels and pads but a coffee poo mixture. Saved a man's life. His wife yelled at me for touching him. Yep, you read that right. IF was visiting a nature reserve in Croatia when I was 17-18 years old, and there was a big lake river mouth thing where people swam. This 40-50-year-old man had swam way too far down and got himself caught in a current. He was shouting for help as it was clear he couldn't swim well, but no one but me was hearing him. I'm a really strong swimmer and it felt like if I went to go get professional help he'd have already been at risk of drowning. So I swam over, grabbed him arm, managed to aim and guide us over to the side of river where we could grab and hold on to some branches. I then guided us up the river against the current by pulling ourselves along the plants. Got to the bank and he was so thankful, but couldn't speak too much English. And I spoke no Croatian. I shook his hand and was just heading away when his wife came over and started yelling at me. She said I had no right to touch her husband in the water like that and called me a whore, then dragged him away. To this day it's one of the maddest things that's ever happened to me. Maybe she was betting on a life insurance payout. Embarrassed smiley face emoji. Teacher caught couple in a staircase scandal in our college yesterday. Yesterday was probably the wildest day on campus I've ever witnessed. So, I was heading to the library around noon, and as I passed by the secluded staircase near the science block, you know, the one no one really uses, I saw our physics teacher, Mr. Sharma, looking furious and storming out with two students. At first, I thought it was just another case of bunking or cheating, but then the rumors started spreading like wildfire. Apparently, a couple was caught. Well, let's just say in the act. Mind blown emoji. According to some students who were around, the teacher was walking by when he heard some suspicious noises. When he went to check, he found a guy and a girl mid-BJ. The girl apparently panicked and tried to cover herself with her dupatta, while the guy was awkwardly zipping up. Mr. Sharma, obviously furious, dragged them straight to the principal's office. The craziest part? The couple was allegedly from different departments, and the guy is reportedly in a long-term relationship with another girl from college. Grimacing face emoji. People were saying that the faculty had to call their parents, and they might face suspension. The whole incident has become the hottest gossip on campus. Some people are making memes about the staircase scandal, while others are still shocked it even happened in broad daylight. College life, man. Never a dull moment. This story is 100 true and I just use as I to write it in better way. The neighbor's window. I moved into my new apartment last month. It was cheap, close to work, and had a decent view. Everything was fine until I noticed the window. It wasn't mine. At first, I thought it was. Same frame, same curtains. But then I realized when I pulled mine shut, the other one stayed open. When I turned off my lights, the other one stayed dimly lit. It was on my wall, facing me, but it didn't belong to me. I should have ignored it, but one night, I saw something move inside. A shadow. Slow, deliberate. Someone pacing. I don't know why, but I knocked on my wall 3 times. The shadow stopped, and then 3 knocks back. I sat up, heart pounding. That wasn't possible. There was nothing behind that wall but empty space. No other apartment. No other room. I left that night. Stayed at a friend's place. Didn't explain much, just said my apartment felt weird. When I went back the next morning, the window was gone. Not covered up. Not hidden. Just gone. Like it had never been there. I told my landlord about it. He just frowned. There was never a window there. I didn't argue. But last night, as I lay in bed, I heard it again. 3 knocks. Right behind my wall. The barista who made my coffee is now my girlfriend. Yes, it sounds like a rom-com cliché, but at the start of last fall, I stopped by a new coffee shop near my office. I was exhausted from an early meeting and barely functioning when I stepped up to order. The barista greeted me with a bright smile and a joke about my half-asleep state. I grumbled something incoherent, and she laughed before recommending a caramel latte. The next day, I went back. And the next. We started chatting small talk at first, then longer conversations when the line wasn't too crazy. She remembered my order before I even said it and started slipping little notes on my cup, of funny doodle, a quote, even a terrible pun. One evening, I ran into her at a bookstore. We were both surprised but ended up talking for hours, wandering through the aisles. Before we left, she shyly asked, "So, do you ever drink coffee outside of work hours?" I said yes way too fast. Now, months later, we're together. Mornings feel different when your coffee is made by someone you love. The coffee shop guy just stopped showing up one day. I started going to this small coffee shop every morning before work. There was always an older guy sitting at the same table by the window, reading a newspaper. He never had a laptop, never seemed in a rush, just sat there with his coffee, flipping through the pages like it was a ritual. At first, I didn't think much of him. We never spoke, just nodded at each other occasionally. But over time, I started to notice little things. He always got the same order. The baristas knew his name. Sometimes he'd chat with them about the weather or a book he was reading. One day, he asked me about my coffee choice, and we had a short conversation. After that, we'd exchange small talk every few mornings. Nothing deep, just the kind of casual familiarity that makes a place feel comfortable. Then, about 2 weeks ago, he wasn't there. I figured maybe he was sick or had an appointment, but he never came back. I kept going at the same time, expecting to see him at his table, but it's been empty ever since. I don't know his story or where he went, but I hope he's okay. It's strange how you can barely know someone, yet still feel their absence. Today I effed up by not recognizing my own girlfriend. Today I messed up by not recognizing my own girlfriend. Here's how it went down. I was at the mall, just minding my own business, when I saw this girl walking toward me. She had the same hair color and style as my girlfriend, wore similar clothes, and even had the same walk. Naturally, I assumed it was her. I decided to sneak up and surprise her. I approached from behind, wrapped my arms around her, and whispered, "Guess who?" She jumped, screamed, and whirled around with a terrified look on her face. To my horror, it wasn't my girlfriend. She stared at me like I was a lunatic, and people started to gather around. I quickly apologized, explaining I thought she was someone else, but she didn't seem convinced. Just as things couldn't get worse, my actual girlfriend appeared, witnessing the whole debacle. She burst into laughter while I stood there, mortified. Now I'm the guy who accidentally hugged a stranger at the mall. My girlfriend won't stop teasing me, and the stranger probably thinks I'm a creep. Lesson learned: always double check before you surprise hug anyone. Today my old number texted my work group chat the N-word. All my upper management bosses were sent it. I changed my number 3 months ago. My coworkers constantly text my old number, because they have iPhones and just added my new number to their contact list. I guess whoever has my old number is fed up with the texts. Over the past week many people went up to me saying, "I texted you and you were super rude." They show me the message and I'm like, that's my old number. So my 3 bosses included everyone in a group chat. They included my old number. The guy repeatedly sends the hard N-word with the ER. My boss decided to call the number because they were so mad, and the guy who has my number cussed him out so bad. I just can't believe this is happening to me. Also, to add, some people in my department still think it was my number, so I've been getting all kinds of looks. My boss said he personally texted everyone explaining it's not my number, and to stop the gossip. If you are going to comment on my post, calling me a liar, I'm going to clown your ass. Unfortunately this did happen to me. I still have a job. My boss was very understanding. We even had a laugh about it. I provided a screenshot of the group message. You can even see in the message, I was upset about all the rumors spreading quickly around. I was sent the N-word separately from the group message posted in comments. I recently got married, and my husband wanted me to join his plan. My elderly parents were the authorized users. They also live in another state. At D said I have to be an authorized user to keep my number. We tried to explain to my parents how to do it, and they were unable to, so I had to get a new number. Younger coworker won't take the hint. I am married. For whatever reason this younger coworker 18 will not take the hint. We will call her K. She is a very attractive woman, kinda ditzy, friendly. However, I'm in love with my wife. We have been through everything together, and I would not give it up for anything. K draws hearts on things that are mine. She stares at me until I noticed, and she blushes and looks away. Always tries to talk to me, asking if I need anything, coffee, food that she will make for me. Another co-worker was joking around about K being my work wife. K overheard this and now gives me things signed WW work wife. I was talking about kids with another co-worker who's going through a divorce, and K looks at me and says, I don't have much experience with kids, but I've always felt like I would be a great mom or stepmom. I've told K any chance I get that I love my wife and that she's the world to me. I don't want to make a big deal out of this because she could get mad and retaliate somehow. Why can't she just take a hint? Edit. Wow, I didn't think this would blow up like this. Firstly, thank you everyone for your good advice. You know who you are. Second, I will not be commenting on posts anymore because the situation is over. Okay, here is the update. So, first day back after posting, I went to my boss to discuss everything and found out that he had fired K that morning. Turns out she had been stealing for a while, but he didn't want to drop her right before Christmas, so he did it the day after. So yay, that's it. Sorry if that's anticlimactic, but it is what it is. Girl offered me a ride home after we met at the airport. Was flying back from a bachelor party and waiting at the gate to board. This girl approached me after I noticed her looking at me, and she then comes over and asks a question about the boarding order. She was pretty bubbly with me and I felt a bit of a vibe. Didn't think too much of it and continued to mind my own business. Eventually I make my way onto the plane as one of the last to board. It's assigned seating and who is sitting right next to me? That's right. Now this is starting to feel like a rom-com. I sit down and we immediately start chatting and hitting it off. Similar interests, and she is going to college in my hometown. Quick flight, but chatted a ton the whole way, and she's asking me tons of questions. After landing we just kept talking all the way from leaving the plane, through the airport, and to the curb. Once outside she asks how I'm getting home. I tell her Uber, and she then offers to give me a ride as her car is parked there. Gladly accepted and away we go. My actual first thought was hell yeah, free ride. The whole ride I'm thinking what all the dudes reading this are thinking. Do I invite her in? In short, I didn't. I asked for her and we ended up texting for a few days, and I asked her to get coffee. She politely declined and that was that. Even though nothing came of it, it's a great story, but I'll always wonder if I had invited her in, would she have accepted? Or was she just a super nice girl with some airport infatuation? Also, it should be noted she was a 20 years old sophomore in college and I was 27. So I took that into account as well. Letter to child's mother. Everything was always about you. As a man you broke me, everything from my pride to the way I view society. You're the reason I isolate myself. You're the reason I am so weird to everyone else. I never made you feel how you make me. It's been years I've dealt with the things you did and you can't name one time that you gave me any closure. Disappointed face emoji. We haven't talked about it. There was nothing except me being sad. Literally everything you did, all the outcome to it was it turning on me, and I'm the only one who feels some way. Round push pin emoji. I told you before, this sad shit came from you. I took everything. When I fucked up I took it. Whenever you fucked up I took it. I fucked up and you always made sure to tell me how you felt no matter what. When it came to you it was either me or you ain't wanna talk about it. I was left with emptiness and you never cared. You was never happy and I never knew, and you blamed me when I was in love when you told me I changed. While I was trying to build our family back you was building another life, and I was drowning with nobody, because I thought I had you. You was in love with someone else this whole time. Put litter in its place symbol emoji. When all you had to do was tell me how you really felt. You was the only person I ever wanted to be with. We was supposed to have a family together and you abandoned me. Middle finger emoji. You was in love with someone else. Sad face emoji. You wanted a family with someone else while faking it with me, and I hate you for that. We finally had our baby and you left me all alone. You left me and the baby on the couch all night while you was sleeping with another man and came home and fought with me. You blamed me for everything. You never apologized. You never cared. I cried over and over. I even broke down and begged you for something, just anything, and you gave me nothing. All our life you only felt like I was a burden for you, and I always truly thought you was the only person to love me genuinely, and I was wrong. You loved another man. You used our dog and acted like you was on the phone with your mom and you was telling him all our problems and business, and you lied about everything. You lead me to believe something that wasn't true and you embarrassed me, and what's crazy is I never left you. I was always there for you. Even though I had a feeling every time something was going on I still stayed. I never left and made you feel like I do right now. And you say I never cared. We had our baby, you left me and had sex with someone. I was still there. You lied to me for years, and everything you ever said I never threw it all in your face. You shitted on me. You let another person have you while you treated me like shit. Sad face emoji. You made another man feel secured. You did me so wrong. And you never even told me sorry.